Mac. I mean, literally, that's the first thought I
Yeah,
had.
I thought it was some guy like
Came in so
messing with
loud,
us.
you know, it was
Yeah.
like, it was crazy.
They did.
I just thought it was some old guy messing with us
Being live
initially, and then I'm
streamed.
like, too bad we weren't live streamed at the last meeting.
Yeah, that would.
We might have got a view,
Admin
got a couple extra views on
working?
that.
Bailey, the admin Wi-Fi.
I don't know. I'm hardwired in.
Oh, okay. I don't have a computer. The admin IoT website or connection isn't working. It wasn't working last council meeting from when they put in these
Oh, the lights,
Lights.
the lights. That's a good point, Ben. Probably related.
see what I'm saying? So I'm connected.
Where were we? What is yours? Gray
Please,
HP?
don't ask me what
Mhm.
No.
Bad.
They still
Yeah, I
use
got
it.
nothing.
Like no
Yeah.
one uses it.
No, yeah, that thing's not usable.
It
Sorry,
doesn't
I
do
love,
anything.
I love my Surface. I get work
My
done.
wife uses touch my Mac screen all the time. I'm like, it's not a touch screen. It should be like, no, right here. I'm like, stop that.
I won't do Mac anything. Sure what?
You're good to go.
If I, I can't wear the green mallet shirts in here. They're pretty messed up. All right, everybody ready? Jim, you good?
Yes.
Okay, you guys ready? All right. We'll go ahead and call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. Head with the roll call.
Ben Lee.
Here.
Ron Dane.
Here.
Ryan Green.
Here.
Sean Merriman.
Here.
Jessica.
Here.
Head with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to public comment on matters not on tonight's agenda. If there's any public comment? No? Okay. Go ahead and close public comment. Move on to approval of the minutes from September 28th. We'll have a motion to approve as written.
Move to approve is written.
Yep, all in
Is that your
favor?
motion or is that?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. You a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And we'll move on to our zoning ordinance draft. So we're finishing up 34.09 and starting on 35.
Did you guys come to hear about, talk about signs?
That's what we'll get to. That's what 35 is.
The good news from council I'll bring back is I brought up, and Bailey reminded me before we adjourned from the joint safety and service and finance meeting is that
Pictures.
it was, approved to move forward with Kim Littleton for the $2,000 estimate for the sign piece.
Good.
Bailey, I don't know if you've reached out to him yet or not.
I actually had my first meeting with him today and the design team, so they're getting started.
Good. So just good feedback. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Let you know about that.
I had one thought on that too, is if we wanted to try, maybe, we had talked about doing some standardized signs for zoning changes. It might be a good time to get the art for that drafted up.
You want to include, you're saying include that in those.
Well, I mean.
The
we
yard
got-
signs,
Yeah, the yard
oh,
signs.
I can do that.
Okay, okay.
Pay
never
them
mind
to do
then.
that.
Allegedly.
Hmm.
She said she could do it. I said allegedly till we see him.
But the art skills.
She got paint. We have Microsoft Paint.
I have InDesign.
There you go.
You got spray.
I have
paint?
that
You got
too.
spray paint? No.
I don't know how to use it.
I'll teach you.
I think we were on section J, additional signage requirements. Is that right?
Yes.
34.09.
Is it additional requirements?
Additional signage requirements, yeah. Of the proposed that I had put together.
That one at Ben's.
What's that?
You're looking for it there.
Yeah.
The link was sent out. Did you guys use it and print it out?
No.
No?
I got rid of my printer.
Oh, yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Ink is
Well,
ridiculous.
the soft copy is up on the screen there.
I thought I was gonna have internet.
There. So the illumination piece with the additional signage requirements, let me get to it. I don't think much really I changed in this section. This should be pulled, I think, from the proposed code.
It's the digital display. We changed that to 30 seconds.
That is coming up.
I got asked about that today.
Did you?
Yeah. I told him it's still once every 24 hours, but hope to be changing it.
Let me find illumination. Yeah, illumination was pulled from the proposed draft. Word for word. I didn't make any changes to this. So it's talking about just the permanent signage and where it should be allowed to be illuminated. A residential office, limited, is it LB? Is that limited business?
Yes.
GC, VC, special use, GLI and PUD. Is it PUD to account for the developments and things like that? When
Well,
you-
like mixed use.
Yeah. Say source illumination should not be visible, shall be fully shielded, not cause glare. External illumination should be limited to fixtures, use the maximum. I don't know what that measurement is. Jim, can you see that?
What's
One
that?
hundred and 50 watt metal,
Is that still how we measure bulbs?
right? That's my question.
Yeah, because everything's usually by
No.
lumen,
I'm not
lumens.
familiar with that.
Everything's LED now.
Yeah, everything's by lumens. So do we have an equivalent lumen?
Most of them are lit LED now.
Yeah.
So I think that's older terminology.
Whatever the modern day equivalent is.
Well, and I believe in our lighting standards, we've got mins and maxes that we can pull over from that. So if we just
Our
make
current,
current lighting standards, yeah.
Haven't had any complaints or issues with it. So if we use the current standards,
Yeah.
I think we'd be just as well off.
The construction. Number B. Ohio basis building code, is that still a reference that's applicable?
Just Ohio building code.
That's it.
Yeah, just a high building code.
Again, that was pulled from the proposed um, location. No part of any sign shall be placed in, over, or extended onto any public right of way. But wouldn't that, like in the downtown space, right? If you've got,
Yeah, if it's up on the building's on the building line.
if you got a
should be
blade
allowed.
sign or something that's gonna.
Yeah, but if
protect-
well,
it's-
but it's fixed to private property. So in this case, I'm thinking that it's talking about if you have a monument sign, no part of your monument sign should, like, no part of the base of the monument sign should be on public right of way.
Wouldn't a blade sign?
Yeah, but we
not
talked
be in
about
public
how
right of
far
way
they
because
stick
of the
out
height,
into the right of way anyway last meeting.
Right?
They're not gonna stick out in the right of way anyway, are they? Well, I
Well,
guess they could, yeah.
Again, if there's a
Awning
blade sign.
sign would.
An awning side, that's
Yeah.
right, because we said what, 8 feet?
You can say just unless connected to the building.
Yeah, there needs to be two separate categories. One for in-town buildings,
That's what
basically,
I was gonna say.
and one for,
But we still wouldn't allow like a monument sign to be on the sidewalk there in public
no,
property.
no, we would not.
So you could use language like, unless otherwise specified in the code and with.
You could just say unless awning or blade
Unless
sign,
affixed to the facade.
unless affixed to the facade.
Yeah. Because you're not gonna have a
We want-
monument
like-
sign attached to a building.
We did use that 8 foot as our walking clearance on all the other sections, so you could.
Yeah.
Within 8 feet of the ground, another idea.
No, this is just if you have a blade sign or projecting sign, like the new Old Horseshoe or hereafter that would extend out over the right of way. This is saying you can't have any signs extending over the right of way. We're saying as long as it's affixed to the facade of the building and meets the other requirements, it can extend.
Why you want a digital marquee sign?
He's setting
For a
himself
movie
up for the
theater?
next discussion. He's talking about for our next section.
For a movie
He'll
theater?
come back to us in the
Some
next
sort of
section.
movie Theater, maybe.
Full entertainment.
Vending machine signs. We don't really deal with these that often anymore.
Is that the gas station pump again?
No,
Right out front. Got that vending machine right out here.
that often. Yeah, that's in the small percentage of those that do, right?
There's somewhere, there's one on 62 at least.
Is there?
But yeah, that's the only ones we have that I can think of.
Where at Dollar General?
There may be one at
That'd
Dollar
be like
General.
the only place that would have one. It'd be like a Fago thing.
I feel like there's one down by that BP down there.
I think that, should we
Red
even
dots
allow
or
it
whatever.
signs to
That
extend
too, yeah.
off of the structure of the vending machine? I mean, that seems.
No, that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about the front of the vending machine
Yeah,
being
yeah.
considered a sign.
Gotcha.
So for this, the purpose is not included in the number of permitted signs. However, it talks about illumination relative to adjacency of neighboring parcels. To make sure, that, again, from the light not shining over there. Few and far between. Can you think of any vending machines around town other than? I guess
No,
the
I'm
obvious
I'm
one?
just sitting here trying to picture.
That's what
one.
we
I
were
can't even-
saying.
Do we want-
Dollar General, I think, might have
I
one.
don't think they do, but yeah. they would
There
be like
is
the
at
place
least
that
one
would.
on 62 somewhere. I can't remember where.
So that's a few and far between.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's maybe 3 in town where you could see them from a road.
If they did have one, would we want them to be internally illuminated, allowed to be internally
I
illuminated?
don't know how else.
Have
I
to be.
think vending machines come not internally
I think
illuminated.
you'd have to wire something fun up for that. It'd be like the same thing as an ATM doghouse internally illuminated. You don't put lights.
You put a
down lights.
spot, you put like a can light, like right above it, I guess.
Yeah, if it was underneath the awning, but not if it's like one of the ones in the parking lot.
Ryan said everything can be downlighted.
Yeah,
Hey, you could downlight anything. yeah.
can light over top of it. You
Just, you got the money, we got the time.
Let's move on. I'm good with it, whatever.
Drive-through menu boards. Again, not counted as part of the maximum number of signs or sign area. Not visible from the street right of way or located in the front yard, single phase, shall not exceed 32 square feet in area. And again, that's, I think, copied from our current code. I believe it's not really changed anything. And that's worked thus far. So changeable copy signs, this is the part that was adjusted quite a bit to take into account the electronic message center signs and to pull kind of everything together. So take a minute if you haven't to read through at least the changeable copy sign. And then we can go into the subsection with electronic message center.
And Ben, while we're there, you can't, what would be the purpose of having a EMC if you're not allowed to have a lit sign, a monument sign? You couldn't have an EMC. You have to have, monument signs have to be allowed to have internal lighting. I've been looking ever since we had our last discussion. It's rare to find a non-internally lit sign. And you can't picture a non-internally lit sign that's a message center.
Well, the message, again,
The message is the light.
Yeah.
The message itself is the light.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
like if you look at this one over
Yeah,
here, I
it
mean,
is
the
the light
letters
there.
are the actual light.
So if it was,
So what you're saying though, is you can't have an internally lit monument sign unless it's a message center.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you wouldn't be able to have the one where you.
that
put the
make sense in
letters
your
on
mind?
it And be lit up like.
I don't know signs like that exist. I really don't. Why would you invest in a monument sign?
Old gas stations.
Yeah, but I'm talking about new signs now. What I'm talking about is something that's going to be bought to a sign company. They're going to sell you an internally lit monument sign or a message center. If you just want a sign, you're going to have something like at the chiropractor. We're going to encourage people to put up plywood signs if we don't allow them to have an internally lit monument sign.
Why can't,
Why would they put up a plywood sign though?
Because why would you invest in a monument sign which requires stone and brick and everything goes along with it? 3 foot.
Still probably cheaper than an internally lit sign, internally lit message center.
They don't go to, I mean, it's just a natural thing. If you have a monument sign built according to our specs with 3 foot, a brick or stone surround. Now you're going, and if you're not allowed to light it internally,
You gotta have uplighting or downlighting.
you're gonna have spotlights on it. And you know what happens to spotlights when they're water catchers, when they're on the ground, they literally don't last long. Or if you put over lighting on them, that's another totally different issue.
You got stuff hanging out.
I don't understand what the issue is with lighting from the top down.
I just don't think it makes good sense to invest for a person to invest in a monument sign and put top lights on it. Why not have a sign that's internally lit that has easier maintenance on, easier to take care of? To me,
Is the sign at Tractor Supply Company, the multi-tenant sign, is that internally lit?
Brand new.
Yeah.
Just-
is it internally lit?
Where's that one?
It is
Yeah. Yeah.
box letters. That's what it is. That sign had to be special. That was a special built sign for
everything on this road.
Johnstown,
Right.
and I don't remember. I don't think
Reynoldsburg
it's
is the same
internally
way
lit.
now too. If you know what I mean.
But it's hanging on a wall. It's a wall sign.
No, the multi-tenant sign at the front.
There you go.
It's,
Just did
it is
That's down.
lit from the
West
top
Virginia,
down.
Cleveland.
That's all the Alteras.
We
Yeah.
allow internally.
In that whole section they just did run.
We allow internally lit signs.
That's exactly what I'm.
That's what we're talking about too.
They just
Yeah.
did that 2 years ago.
So that's, I just don't understand. I don't, it doesn't,
They just don't allow them to have them. So that's why they,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The
And that's-
entire time that I have been coming to planning and zoning meetings, we've been trying to get away from internally
Right.
lit signs.
and that's.
Since I've been
that's-
coming, that was the only sign that the village wanted. They wanted monument signs. That's what they wanted. I think Marvin even attests to that.
Yeah, but
that's
We can
every-
still get,
that's
we can still get
every
monument
sign.
signs that aren't internally lit.
That's every sign.
I
in
mean,
that
shoot,
area.
that sign right there's, I mean, the church sign right there is
The one
not
on the corner?
internally lit. They have a sign. they
And
have
I
a
think
white
that sign looks
underneath.
totally unfinished. It's not in it. It's not surrounded. You look at the Marathon sign's not a good example right now. But any of the Duke sign is a good one. An internally lit sign that they can also change the price of their gas on. They can put it on that sign. So picture that sign with no interior lighting and just some spotlights from above it. And that's what you want. I just think we're going the wrong direction.
They can do an overhang light on those. I mean, they have them. If you go up Cleveland Avenue to Westerville,
I drove Route
there?
3 from,
yeah,
I drove Route 3 from Old 161 all the way up to Sunbury. And I'm seeing cheap signs that have lights hanging over top of them. Mhm.
if they have them up Westerville Road. They're all brick and concrete,
Cleveland Ave at
and they're
Cleveland
nice monument signs.
on both
So
sides.
where's the lights?
Right
none of
there,
them are
it's that bar.
internally.
It's the LED bar that goes across. It shines
Downlit.
down.
Yeah, they're downlit or the, yeah.
And then we did all.
Is that what
That's
you're talking
John
about?
built a
LED
couple of
bar?
them. That's what he's got on his phone.
Or similar.
Yeah,
Sure. It's downlit. It's not internal.
yeah.
I'm just saying this is a complete change from what,
That's what you're envisioning.
when they changed the sign code in 2012,
Yeah.
that's what it was changed. They wanted monument signs.
On the other side of the road.
And now we're saying
Every business on the road has.
they want an internally lit monument sign because
There's
we didn't allow internally lit signs to hang on a wall anymore, but you're allowed to have both. So they said, well, we'll only have spotlights on wall signs and internally lit monument signs. That's all that was allowed.
We do outdoor, I mean, I do in landscaping. I've done entrances to neighborhoods plenty of times where they just have a sign. They have their brick or concrete sign and then
it's lit from
we
the
do-
down or
we
lit
either
from
do the
up.
down lighting or yeah, we have the spotlights that come up.
I mean, I don't get a vote
We're
on this.
3 years
It's your
into
guys'
one.
choice. If that's what the direction you want to go, that's what way you want to go. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a complete change from what we have been doing.
Yeah, we just have to limit the material because like.
We'll recommend it to council like this and see what they think too.
That's a good point. He says limit
like,
the material.
Because if if you don't like the plywood look, then
Yeah,
it's just not.
take
an
the
option.
plywood out.
Has to be.
We have any
It
material?
either has to be a natural material or it has to be vinyl or,
We've got those requirements.
Well, right now it's
Yeah.
brick or stone.
right.
And if it really didn't work, I mean, there's always variance too, you know. I mean, I hate to
Yeah.
always go to
I
reverse.
just don't feel
variances,
like this
but-
is missing the mark. I feel
No,
like. this is-
I think you're fine. Yeah.
That's what I said. It's up to you guys. I mean, I'm just saying, dealing with it, that's what we were known for is internally lit monument signs with the sign companies. They knew that they were permitted in Johnstown and that's what they come in to sell people that want to replace their sign. And that's how we've done it. So it's just a total change.
It wasn't before 2012.
I don't even know if there was a good sign spec. I can't, well, pole signs. They wanted to get completely away from pole
Yeah.
signs. And they wanted to get away from wall signs that were internally lit. And the last one we had in old Johnstown was hanging up there where B&T insurance signs at. It was a cabinet sign. And those were removed when he took over the building.
The other thing I've seen is like where they have a brick or concrete sign and then behind the letters is the light. That's not internally lit technically.
The back.
I mean,
side of
because
them.
the letters are off the,
Redwood
yeah.
was the same.
Well, I'm saying it's a concrete front and then the letters have the light on
do-
them. So
they
it's
do-
technically
they-
not internal,
You're
but it's
gonna have
on
a
the
fun time
letter
They do
itself.
like the back. they do, like,
Minutia of the sign.
You get like a
black
shadow
metal
It's just
that
complete
runs out, and
change.
they
Yeah.
hit The lights go behind.
Yeah. There's plenty of good ways to do it.
For me, if the point is to pare down on light pollution or
Yeah.
the risk therein, and it's promoting directionality of the light and things like that, then I think.
I understand that.
Those sign companies will be used to it from Westerville and
against the-
Dublin and New Albany and everybody
I
else.
think
who's
it's a
doing
fair
the
point.
same
That we'll
thing.
keep, I'm
They'll
gonna
be
keep
used
my eye
to it.
out this weekend to look.
Or they'll
around.
figure
Yeah,
out a
look
product
around.
that works for us.
I think it's a-
I'm just. that's
So I'll look around this week and see,
Uh-huh.
Foot behind me and stuff.
Mhm.
That's what's up.
I understand what you're saying. I do.
Okay, it's just it's a major change. It was a real hot button in 2012 when they redid the sign code. And that was the one
get
thing
it.
they were emphatic about.
I think there's a lot of things in this new code.
Do we have public comment on it?
Electronic message boards. Yeah, that's the only one that we're allowed to do that. So you're right.
So this section that we're talking about now is like that church right over there, right?
Were you finishing, Marlon? Right. Right. Let's say this feels like,
An extension of that policy, yeah.
We want to take it a little bit further because they have good looking signs that still do that. We want to cut down, like we've been telling every business that comes in here, we want to cut down on light and pollution.
That's the same
Downlight.
philosophy.
So, less light pollution, the better.
And there would be less like
Yeah.
pollution on a monument sign
Yep.
with an LED bar over top of it I'd agree with that.
I think that needs to be where we go. That was my opinion. That was my point.
Okay.
But I absolutely get what you're saying. But yeah, this would be an extension of that. It would be carrying it another step forward. In my opinion, but to that end, it's, you know, having that no internally illuminated, downlit exterior lit. The area of the sign devoted to the copy subject to change. Usually the message shall not exceed 50% of the total area of the sign.
That seems a little, how'd you come up with, how we get to that number?
What?
Because if I'm looking at this church sign over there, that's kind of the example we're going off of, right, for this static text sign.
No, this is changeable copy sign.
Yeah.
This would be like where you
One
can
downtown.
Take the letters
take the
out
letters out.
Oh, okay,
and put new letters in.
McDonald's.
gotcha,
That's like the best gas station, McDonald's.
gotcha.
Yeah,
And
You don't
this
even
would
see
be,
gas, you don't even do anymore.
50% seems low to me, that's
this would be similar to like, if you use an electronic message center sign, 50% of the sign could be the electronic message center and 50%.
I think 50% is probably, like, if you look
Name
at
and
a
address.
Burger King.
Yeah, it's probably their
It's
logo.
probably their logo,
and
and
the
then-
other half.
It's
is-
supposed to be 60-40.
Yeah, and 60,
what we-
60%
Is that what we
logo,
do now?
60 logo,
60%
photo
static.
message.
40%. The sign that's out of compliance is the Hopewell sign, and that's my fault. I missed that.
Because it's 50-50, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Want
60-40 is
50/50
fine
or
with me.
60/40?
I'm fine with 60-40. If that's what we have been using, then that's probably gonna look better go forward to maintain that standard.
It'll maintain the uniform nature.
So then drop that to 40%. That talks about the light and the safety hazard, and then it gets into the electronic message center sign. Shall be considered a conditional use in the SU district requiring specific approval.
Now
And where,
that's different from what we have now.
correct.
No, it says it would permit them in the other districts, but it would be conditional and special use.
I bring my maps. Do you have a copy of the, can you bring up a copy of the map?
The zoning, the new zoning map.
Yeah.
We go back. So electronic message signs are a subcategory of the changeable copy sign. Is that correct understanding or no?
One more time.
The electronic messaging signs are a subcategory of the changeable.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm just trying to think through this in my head. So that again, if I go to that church sign over there, that's the electronic message sign, right? Just electronic text.
Correct.
It looks like they do have a little logo, but it looks like that's a lot more than 50% or 40%.
Did we bore you that bad?
We've got 9 within 7 miles of it. I've got them on that navigator, so we don't need any here.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
I don't know, I can't see the bottom.
So you want them to have a logo on that sign? Then that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want
I mean, I would assume that that's not 60-40.
Yeah, I
I
think.
mean, it
supposed to
probably,
be.
is if you did like exact square footage because of the width. It's just the way they stacked it. It makes it look like it's not,
The base is
because it's wider.
historical to the church. They wanted to keep that base.
They kept the same.
Yeah, I don't have, I
Overall
mean, I
square
think that
footage.
sign looks good. I just wanted to make sure
Keep
that
it to the public.
everybody's on the same page with,
That's why.
No, he was here. I saw that. He just was
I
there.
know, I think that's why.
Matters. I hear what you're saying.
I know, I think that's why I missed that.
Could ask something.
So we're saying that you can have an electronic message sign like that churches and you're allowed to have those in certain districts without
Almost everywhere.
almost everywhere.
Not residential.
Not residential.
General, commercial, limited business.
We're encouraging these type of signs now. That
We
Encourage.
allow it right now.
Yeah.
We're doing 60/40 on that, so 60 low, 40.
Yeah.
not my favorite look. It's not my favorite look, but if you guys don't see a
40/60 on it.
Oh, the square?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
totally
mean, if
different
it was
because
up
we
to
can
me, I
do
would
that.
say that it's a, they have to come in every time, but people get tired of that. That's what I would say.
I don't think that
We don't get that many new businesses that it really take up that
a
much
lot of
time,
that signs around here. Do you think that? Yeah.
They're easy, they're convenient.
Not a lot of light pollution, I guess.
I mean, as long as there aren't moving pictures, they aren't distracting, and the illumination is such that there are provisions I've read, and it may even be built in here to where it's built on a timer and it dims in the evening, and so it's not as bright in the evening.
There's the
Part
map
of that.
for you.
Oh, perfect. Especially used.
That's that baby blue color.
Yes. So, any like village owned buildings, the schools are special use.
Parks,
Parks are their own green space. Oh, no, you're right, parks too.
yeah, they're supposed to be special use.
That says that they'd have to get, they'd have to come in, like if the school wanted one, they'd have to. come in.
Yes, they'd have to go apply for conditional use permit.
Like how anybody that should be able to just have one, I feel like it'd be the school.
I feel like if we allow those type of signs like the church, but not internally lit monument signs, we're gonna get all everything's gonna go.
That's
that
what I'm
direction.
saying, that they'll go one direction or
So
another.
it's gonna be like, we got, in my mind, it's like, if that's the look that, I think, if we leave it like this, I think that's the way we're encouraging it's gonna go.
Well, like
with that.
multi-tenant signs will never be like that.
No,
Maybe.
that would be insane.
That'd be a lot.
Yeah, that would
Lot
be
of
tough.
traffic.
It'd be too busy.
That would look insane to come down through
Right now, though.
by
like, in
McDonald's
20
and just see that one.
In
It
20
changes,
years.
change when you got a new tenant.
But I would say there's gonna be a drastic price difference between something like that.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
and a Monument sign that's externally illuminated.
The Hopewell sign, the Hopewell sign 5 years ago cost $47,000.
Yeah.
Now, how many small business guys are gonna do that?
And to that end as well, how different is the technology now than 5 years ago?
Yeah,
Same conversation we have about roundabouts and signalized intersections is the mechanics go bad.
Yeah.
And that upkeep is expensive. You've got to, as a business owner, work out the ROI between the two. I don't think that we're necessarily promoting one or the other.
No, it's only gonna be the big people, like AutoZone would do it.
So be it.
Yeah, but
because they have the
AutoZone and
money.
O'Reilly wouldn't do it because they're
Not
not
now.
gonna change their pricing enough. It's gonna be people who change the message or change the pricing.
yeah,
a lot
the
that do
the
it.
auto parts
So
stores.
gas
don't.
stations would all do it. I mean, maybe if you were like a local pizza shop and had a lot of money, maybe to cover your Friday deal or whatever you had, maybe,
You have
but
strong backing to change because you're.
exactly. Maybe a Domino's or something, Pizza Hut if they're still around.
I don't see much risk with it, but I don't know why the special use district would require.
I don't either. That
Conditional.
didn't make any sense for me.
No.
So allow it.
Yeah, because I was like, if anybody's gonna put one in, it's gonna be the most beneficial to them. It's
Well,
probably
yeah, the
school.
schools always have a message they need to get out. So yeah,
Probably the only one we should probably review is historic downtown.
Yeah,
yeah.
because the
So
school's gonna do the like
I kind of agree with that. We should make it.
plays.
I think
or-
that is there now, isn't it?
So I just want to mention too, that as we go into the village center district, we talked a little earlier about signs extending into the right of way there. And this says notwithstanding the other provisions of this ordinance, a sign within the VC district may extend into the right of way.
I think that makes sense because.
So I think that we should delete it from up here since
It's already in, I mean,
already in there.
Yeah,
and we
that's gonna be
wouldn't-
the only place your build-to lines will be close enough to the right of way.
right.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah, unless you did like a PUD and put mixed use buildings in it.
Yeah, that would probably be a part of the
And you did,
application.
like
process.
something like, and you did something like the goat, where the goat did the roundabout. And they did it like,
And I would agree, but with the PUD and the mixed use,
It'll
that's probably
be-
gonna be
they
part
have
of the
to-
total development
I
plan.
think it's
so I
gonna be
can
reviewed.
apply for it.
Yeah.
Separately. I wouldn't think. But that's a good point. Yeah, I would allow it in special use, but so then the question becomes, to Jim's point, the timing, how often the message can be changed. And that's been a conversation that we've had. I think currently it's what, once every 24 hours.
That was, yeah, and that's why I said,
And this
I'd
is,
ask about that today.
shall not be more frequent than once every 30 seconds.
Pretty big change, guys.
Yeah.
I think we were keeping with the village one. The village is like 6 seconds.
I think that, my personal
I
opinion,
think if that, you could, that could be a,
I think you keep them, I think you give a special allowance for the schools, the special use districts to change them quicker and the rest of them 24, but do you want a bunch of different changes?
I mean, I guess it depends, I guess it depends on who, I guess it depends on who has them, because it wouldn't it be, isn't it nice if if a local business changes theirs to support a local activity?
Or
Yeah, like if
that
we
church-
have a
that
team
church-
going to
that
the
church
state
promoted-
championship, you
You
want
know
all
what
the
I mean?
local
People put their little
businesses.
signs out, if they can
Yeah.
change it.
And if you got a gas
Yeah.
station, they're gonna wanna change one of those.
Well, just
But
like,
like the
Stations is
village-
Always gonna change, yeah.
Village doesn't put anything on there except for like community events. So they don't do
Yeah.
any sales. They don't do any,
nothing that's involving,
They have a lot more restrictions.
yeah,
Oh,
we
so
don't
they
do
should be
any
allowed.
like political things.
They
We
should be allowed to
just
change
do
it.
events and we don't even do like garage sales or anything like that. It's,
No.
it has to be like a charity event.
We didn't
And
do anything for like Swabbers Day, garage sale kind of weekend there. We didn't
I
put
think we
anything
did,
up.
but it's because it's a village sponsored event.
Yeah.
Because we waive
Right, because it's,
permits.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not like you could decide to have a garage sale on Friday and just
rent
like
it, and
come
rent
up
the
and
space.
ask to put it on the sign. Like, we won't do that.
Was-
Oh, no, you wouldn't want that, but I'm saying like, Swabbers Day week, if there's a holiday weekend, or wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if we put welcome to Swabbers Day, but probably wouldn't.
we have shop owners that I actually would like to be on there and they would be even
Yeah.
willing to pay. But we've
That's-
told, we've told all of
We
them,
won't do
no,
it.
it's not the
It's
purpose.
not an
Yeah,
advertising
'cause,
sign
it's
for the
not for
purpose of
advertising.
Commercializing, it's informational to promote civic engagement.
Right,
That's
it's
the point.
community
I love
based.
that. I think that's perfect. And I think the school should be able to have one if they wanted one
If they
like
can
that
look it
too.
up.
But do we want businesses to have, have ones that
A
charge?
lot of schools do have them now, which, and I'm a believer in that. I think it's fine for a school.
Yeah, because they can, any of their stuff.
And that's like
20
community
things in it,
events,
so
you
they
know?
can-
Well, I think they're great. I mean, my kid's not in the school district yet, but if I'm driving by, I drive by that school 15 times.
Yeah,
If I saw stuff coming up, that'd be nice. As I'm driving by, I would look. Oh, yeah, I forgot report cards are coming out. Better watch for that.
Right,
Look
I
behind
agree.
it.
just like the church, I don't know if you noticed it or not, they put on theirs now on Friday, go Johnny's.
Yeah, that's what.
They
that-
leave
And
it
that's,
on.
that's what we want.
That was
I
the
mean,
only-
that's
that was-
awesome. when,
That was the
you
only
know,
reason why I was saying 24, because they could do it, if they wanted to do it for all sports.
No, they just put Go Johnny on it.
Any of the things that are going on, if they want to do one for the 4th. of
Yeah, they do
July, it
that
goes
too.
back and forth.
Yeah,
Or
holiday
like,
stuff.
Like,
anything
thank you,
like that.
veterans.
Been real
whatever.
positive.
Whatever the like,
Yeah.
obviously sales is a little different if they want to advertise their price of their milk and the price of potatoes.
those type
and
of-
Yeah.
it'll probably be rather annoying, but
Where are you
So
going?
it seems to me like once every 24 is too slow, but once every 30 seconds.
this could be too
I
fast.
think once an
I
hour.
think the
would be
common-
fine. Once every 5 minutes would almost be fine with me. I think once every 30 seconds is pretty fast though. That way you're.
Guy from Kessler sign told me every
Getting away
6
from-
minutes,
6 minutes,
every 6 minutes.
Downtown sign is every 6 seconds.
Yeah.
6 seconds.
It's quick. If you're driving by
Right.
quickly, yeah, it's quick.
The
It's not
point,
fast enough to see it all.
but the light- you're there at the intersection, so you're seeing things change through and stuff like that.
If
Yeah.
You're going down the street and you see 5 of these in a row, it's gonna look like Vegas after if you get one.
Right, and that's what we
Exactly.
don't want.
Yes.
Maybe once
Right.
every 10 minutes or 6 minutes.
6 minutes, they say is a good time limit for a sign. So,
Wonder
I don't
if
know.
6 minutes.
Yeah, that's an obscure, well, they're all obscure numbers, but
yeah,
30, I mean, any number you put.
Let's do once an hour.
I think once an hour would be a good place to start.
Fine with me.
Because then if you're like selling things, I mean, it's not like you're gonna be advertising a lot of sales on that once an hour.
Yeah, it gives you the ability.
But then the churches and the school buildings, they can all update theirs throughout the day. You know, you can
Yeah.
get multiple messages across.
Like
Fine with once
I'd
an
say
hour.
the
yeah, I think once an hour is fine.
I get a lot of my local news at the at the corner of 62 and
That's the
37.
only
out
news
there.
I can trust.
When I'm
is
at
that
the
sign.
stoplight.
I work in the office and I still read the sign. I mean,
Yeah, I get a lot of my local news that way.
I could go once an hour makes sense.
and I'll tell you, I just told Teresa a couple of weeks ago, she does an excellent job.
Yeah.
Taking care of that. I mean, it's no brainer. There's never any discussion. She just does it. She does really well.
Want to make sure too, we have on here, no moving pictures and stuff like that. Have we seen?
And no streaming. You don't want to allow streaming.
Maybe we just make a note unless we,
I just added it.
okay.
I just said moving images and streaming are not
Yeah.
permitted.
And of course, the standard, no fireworks, no words like stop, that type of word.
I think we have that in here.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, we
flash,
don't,
flash, flash,
No verbs.
right now.
Road closed ahead,
no
turn in
verbs.
here.
Turn right now.
Jeez.
it should be under not
Oh, they
permitted.
stopped the
or-
car. That's what.
Oh,
the-
yeah, there's not permitted.
Stop the car.
There's actually more in this, so I hope you guys know that.
Prohibited.
Do we have language? that-
Permit non-
Yeah, under prohibited, it specifies some of that.
You need to have Teresa copy the local street sign.
Any sign that revolves or is animated or utilizes movement to attract the attention of the public.
Yeah.
So we'll probably fall into that.
Wait, what section is that?
34.04.
Oh, 0.04, okay. Oh, okay.
Indy 500. If you're like, you're not racing in Indy.
Okay, yeah, so
Slow down.
flashing or high intensity lights.
I'm like,
And then J is what I was referencing.
I guess he's
You're
driving.
saying that revolves or is animated, okay.
Drivers are riding in a Mercedes.
Which covers it, right?
What about those airplanes that fly by with the signs on the back?
Outside our jurisdiction. We get a lot of.
Jim, what did you mean by streaming?
Message running across continuous.
Okay, yeah, so streamers
be-
are included in here.
That would be moving.
Yeah, those are
Okay,
fun to
so
read
we
while
don't
you're
have to
driving.
have that down here then.
Is that the different type of sign, right?
What's
Or
that?
where the text is moving?
They could
across?
do it with a lot of those signs.
It's like
We
a
have a
ticker.
section for that.
It's like a ticker. Well, we just said you can't have that. You
We
can't
can't
have
have
moving
that.
images, yeah. So signs in the VC district. May extend to the right of way, yada, 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 correction. Of an alternative sign outside the right of way not feasible in addition certifying. Okay. Signs in historic design review district.
Can't we get rid of historic design review district? Because we have a design review district for now.
Yeah.
I think we did.
Good point.
Just use our downtown reference, right?
Because we're gonna need to go back and make sure that we've got the maps and the overlay districts aligned based off of now.
Mhm.
We might not need everything. That's a good point.
You
Special
could change
use,
that to, you could just change that to like the historic downtown, right?
Signage variations, those will go in front.
Would you completely delete that?
Yeah.
What?
Then they'll come to,
Historic
then they'll come
downtown.
back to us.
Historic,
Or just change it to like one of the other terms that we have? or not?
historic design review, which we,
Tree
Took out
commission
of
did
the
that one
zoning.
thing and then it came to us.
that's just the legislative.
Moves up the-
So
That's
would
what I
it go to
figured
the
they'd probably
design
see it
review board,
first
or-
and come to us. and
So
we'd
ha-
go,
it would
cool,
Well, it
send
wouldn't,
to
because
council.
we don't have that.
Might not even come to us.
Okay,
I'd be fine with
you
that.
decide not to do that.
What's that? Well, it's covered elsewhere.
Design review district, design review, whatever.
Historic design review district. So SU and PUD districts to reflect standards for similar uses in other districts. I like the fact the applicant shall submit a total signage plan for the proposed development. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
Off-premise signs, here we go.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Off-premise shall be considered as an accessory use in the SU district, not more than one off-premise ground sign with a sign face area is permitted on a single lot. So this is where we kind of have to make some decisions on off-premise signs, because the last thing we want is for everybody to have off-premise signs everywhere pointing to all areas of the village for different things. I think some of the issue was like we had with Pulte, right, is that they're trying to advertise a product that's back off of the right of way.
Didn't you do a variance for that?
We did do a variance for
We did a
that.
variance with the conditionality that they had to lease a space from somebody on the right of way. And then they could do it. But it wasn't.
I would say off premises. The only one that's like can work are the ones they hang out at school. You consider that an off premise sign.
That's what I
paid
would think too.
That's paid advertisement because, you know what I mean? Like, other than that, like,
Make it
what-
a variance every time.
yeah, like what? You don't need to put like a Troyer sign down here on the corner. People know that your business is down there. They can Google it. If they don't have Google,
Yeah, that's what I
sorry.
think too. I don't think we should allow off-premise signs.
I don't either. I mean,
mean, if-
that's the way it is now.
If it's a special case like Pulte, then you can come in and get a variance.
Yeah.
Or if it was like somebody buys the old vet, they put another building in the back, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That they can get it. You could allow maybe a temporary one until people realize where it is, or that's like a specialty building where
You'd have to lease space off the building.
That's
out
what I'm
front.
saying, is they could come and you could probably find a space for them. Cause I'm like, that's like, you don't have very many buildings like that where it's like,
I just think they should have to
yeah,
argue to us
why?
effectively why they need
It
it.
isn't
Require
the,
variance.
it isn't the businesses that it's a problem with. It's everybody else that has a sign and they want to put it out. I mean, my God, Panera Bread in New Albany, they were advertising for people. They put 15 of them in Johnstown.
I'm fine making it. a
So do
variance.
you think I should just say are not permitted or should I just take it all out?
Not permitted without a variance.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would,
Put it in there. I think
Put it in
leaving
there.
it in makes it clear that that's what the rules are.
I'm just gonna say are not permitted because
you say without approval, variance approval by, or just the, leave it
I would just leave it.
implicit.
Yeah, because the variance is
Because
implied.
Whatever's not allowed in here, you can get a variance. for.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And you can have like if Ryan's putting up a fence, he can have a contractor sign. Their
Very
contractor
good.
signs are allowed. And often that's the argument people will have when you tell them, no, you can't have that sign there. It's, you don't own the property. Well, they'll say that guy over there working in that has his sign, he doesn't own the property, although he even referred to a for sale sign. But but to be able to have the rule that off-premise signs aren't allowed without a variance, that's the easiest way to enforce it.
Works for me. So the table one is something that Kim's gonna be working on too, is that right?
Mhm.
Okay,
That's Bob, you know, that's Bob.
so table one will pull from everything that we've discussed already here. So the notes on table one is something that we would look at, right?
Yes.
So the notes on table one here. I just want to go through.
And I'm preparing the sign. I'm preparing the table of each district and which signs are allowed in that district.
That's the best way to have them as a reference is by district.
You've got directional signage here for item one, maximum of 2 directional signage in the GC, GE, and LI district, so. And those come with specific approval from planning and zoning. Multi-tenant buildings, the VC district. Is by gross leasable area used by the tenant. So item 6, we just talked about the special use in PUD districts. They must submit with the required development plan. And then item 10 on here, talking about if a sign is suspended above a right of way, that the insurance must be carried by the business owner or the sign owner for liability insurance.
Was it? They have to file that every year.
Number 7, did we talk about that last time and decided it was like per public entrance instead of public right away or?
They can file it every year, but we'll charge a filing fee.
For what now?
No, this is not more than one freestanding sign. So like you could have a freestanding sign and a sign on your building. You just can't have two freestanding signs.
Gotcha.
We're almost done with signs. So close. Yeah, I would assume it would be annual, $500,000 minimum, but village council may reasonably from time to time determine what the
500, that's it.
insurance
Okay.
per occurrence per sign.
You have to have
You have to carry $1 million if you're a contractor. Why would you
Right.
carry 500,000? The only thing
Yeah.
that's gonna do is probably kill somebody.
Hell, I have $1 million in coverage. Yeah.
I would probably like to ask, what's his name?
Yes.
Yaz or somebody, yeah, or
insurance on a sign. is that
Jim,
what we're talking
they
about?
know, like, I would assume it's gotta be more than that.
$1 million insurance coverage.
It's like standard. for
It's
sign.
like
We're talking about if your
$70 a
sign falls
month.
Down or.
Not
It's,
even.
it's not even that
You're gonna
expensive.
require a lot of these little business owners to pay pretty. premium if it's $1 million. That seems like
John
unnecessary.
proposes danger. I'm pretty safe.
I don't know. I wouldn't know where to
That's
start.
5 million,
so
you know, and that insurance is like
It's
$100.
fine with me.
He works his people pretty hard. They'll have a heart attack.
Talk about the measurement of signs. We were talking about this before for 34.1. Sign area shall include the face of all display area of the sign, not including bracing, framing, and structural supports, unless such support members are made part of the message or face of the design. So that makes sense.
We're too ornate.
Where a sign has 2 or more display faces, area of one sign shall be used in determining the area of the sign. For spherical signs, it's, I think these are all pulled really from what we currently.
Yeah, they are.
Too ornate.
Height of the sign should be measured from the elevation of the ground at the point which the base of the sign meets the ground to the highest point of the sign.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
No, we're moving on.
So I'm going back to this church. It looks like it's a triangle like that. So
It is. Yeah, it's 2 signs.
we would only be counting one of those sides. Because
Yeah, you do.
make sure that that was everybody's understanding.
For a V sign. In other words, yeah, the Duke sign is somewhat that way too. It's pretty much the same way. In other words, if you got 50 square feet, what most of them are, and you have 50 square feet, but the way the sign's positioned, you can't see both sides of it. So you put
So you got
one
50
this way and
side.
one this way. And that was their goal there too.
Okay, fair enough. Just want to think through that real quick.
Non-conforming signs. Talks about abandonment, and again, some of these are pulled directly from what we have. And reverting back to nothingness. Or if it's non-conforming and it's abandoned, then it has to be maintained in a conforming manner.
Is 90 days too quick or are you guys
What did we
comfortable
change? We
with 90?
changed it. What did we change it to? I thought we said like 30.
Nah, you don't want to do that
Might be
because
too-
often the business will change hands or something.
Couple months for us getting
Yeah.
it in there.
We did talk about that.
Yeah, I thought we made it like lower, like way lower, because we were like, you could just blank it out. If you're a tenant, like if you're the landlord, like no one wants to drive by and look at oh, it used to be this for 6 months. And I'm like, if you're a landlord and you leave somebody sign up for 90 days, you have to change it out anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna have that thing rented.
That's
Yeah,
like-
in a case like that, I see what referring to a landlord, yes.
I think this means this is for if somebody has a non-conforming. So if they have a non-conforming sign, the business closes. They've got 90 days to put the new one up, or else they're gonna have to bring it into conformance.
Yeah.
30 days seems a little tight. That's shorter.
Depending on your sign, yeah. I mean, to take the sign down or to, like John said, to block it out.
You're talking overall. This is just non-conforming.
I think when we said 30 days, we were talking about
Yes.
tenant signs.
Tenant signs.
Yeah.
Ten signs, yeah.
Yes.
Which would,
you're
yeah,
right.
that would make more sense.
This is
So
a
you have to
pretty-
like
this is a pretty
take your
narrow-
name off.
Non-conforming is
30
pretty
days.
narrow.
You're saying if it's a non-conforming, if I have a non-conforming sign, I sell
You
my,
have full
I sell my
sign.
business, I sell it.
So you have a pole
And it's
sign.
empty for
If
6 months, then that sign's done.
you have a pole sign and, you
I
know,
would say
you want to give it,
that immediately upon selling of the.
We
listen.
don't do that. We've-
But that's, why would you?
It's really hard to enforce.
We allow people, well, the same
So
way
what-
we do with
I'm a-
non-conforming uses. If you have a
I can
non-conforming,
leave up my the pole sign.
yes.
That's
As
no,
long as it
that is
stays in the
hot
village,
trash.
You couldn't change it to, you know. an
Why?
others.
It's a historical sign at that point.
No, no. as
But
soon
if you're
as-
changing any letters on it, what you would have to take it down if you.
and I
get what
can
I'm
appreciate
saying?
that. I
Anybody's
can
gonna
appreciate
change
that
it.
side of the argument.
So
John.
as soon as you update the sign,
It has
you have to bring
conform.
it to conformity. But if
I'm-
you're gonna use the same sign, you can have it.
Then it has to be the same business.
I'm doing one right now with
Family restaurant.
AutoZone. It has a pole sign.
Family restaurant sign is not in
And-
conformance. And it just
And they
sold.
kept the same
And they
name.
can keep the sign as long as they keep the same name and they don't make any
Right.
changes. to
It's
the sign.
totally out of compliance. But
Zero branding changes, right?
So why do we need to give any number of days? Because if they change it,
They can't do anything.
I think that it is so that like if the
They'll take it
family restaurant closed and somebody else bought it, well, they've got 90 days to reopen it, otherwise business.
and that's the third owner for that same sign too.
Well, we haven't heard from him if he's keeping it or not. I think he's gonna change it. But I'm just
Well, I
saying,
think he will if he gets his liquor permit.
I don't think he'll want to keep the same name.
AutoZone right now has a pole sign, which is totally out of compliance. And they sent me, they even put a new panel on it, sent it to me, said they wanted to change their panel on their sign. And I said, well, you can't do that. If you do, I said, if you're going to update the sign, it has to be replaced with a monument sign.
Remember the last pole sign we allowed? I remember
Yeah.
that going through.
Yeah, I
The
believe it
Tanner Road
was.
The last lighted.
LED
Yeah.
inside. interior. And 90 feels good to me for that. I
So
understand.
you're
what
saying like if I close, let's just say I close my door. And I wait, somebody has 90 days to occupy that building and keep the sign.
Mhm.
Close it, sell it, paperwork go through, any other type of stuff going
I
on.
mean, then you almost have to give them more than that because it might take more than 90 days to get through the closing.
Say,
Well, to market the property and yeah, to get,
If you
to
close
get
it, you're
closed,
gonna
you're
have a
taking
minimum of 30 to 45 days to close.
One example,
90 is your best case scenario to
That's
get
if
that
that
closed.
means if like the first day, so you'd have to get somebody within 30 days.
It's a
You were
very,
just
this is a
asking-
very narrow.
That's
why-
why,
asking for
that's why
0
I'm
days.
saying it should be zero.
think
as soon
90
as
is
you change it,
generous.
You should have to get rid of your sign.
I think
That's
90
The
is
new
very-
very-
tenant, the new
This
tenant. should have to
scenario is
change it.
very, very rarely gonna happen because how often?
No, that's not true because you're getting rid of internally lit signs.
It's
Yeah.
all over.
It's gonna happen on every business that closes.
But you gotta keep
So when the
same
hardware
business,
store
man.
closes, it
That's the
becomes a
trick,
pizza
you know?
place.
Right.
'Cause that's the only thing
So-
that it could become after.
Right, you'd have to keep the same business name.
and that's what the old Horseshoe, think about that, how long it was closed. It was closed before COVID and then all of
Yeah,
COVID.
it was closed like a year.
So-
And
encourage- I
she
like
kept
to
saying,
Encourage people.
I want to reopen it.
But is our sign non-conforming?
No, I think we had a variance issue because she wanted the front sign and the back sign went, that's always a problem.
Yeah, but those aren't non-conforming signs.
No, they weren't non-conforming.
When did they take ownership of that too? They probably took ownership and started doing stuff within that 90 days, I think.
They did.
Oh,
They didn't,
Yeah, they did.
or did they? Yeah, they just weren't open.
right.
They had ownership and took over. That's just also gonna be a weird one because people are gonna you're relying on somebody to explain that to somebody else.
It's confusing, but I'm now that.
Relying on
now that I
Bailey to
fully
explain
understand it.
it.
how
No,
it
you're,
works.
no, you're relying on the
Give
real
people-
estate
to
to
give
explain
people
it, and they're gonna come in, they're gonna
Yeah, you
have
don't
a-
make it-
they're gonna make a big deal.
That's gonna be in your
Real estate agent
disclosure.
would care.
Give them a hardship.
No,
and say,
but
"Oh,
the
by the way,
person-
you also
but
have to take a
the-
full sign out
the
of
new
it,
buyer
$5,000
will, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you've got.
That'll be something that should come up in disclosures, but the real estate agent probably will not.
Title's not gonna pick it up.
Well, I know none of them will pick it up, but it'll
I
be
don't think
something.
anybody's told the new owner of the Family Dollar restaurant, of the family, Johnstown Family Restaurant, that his sign's out of compliance.
That's what I mean. He might not have, he per se might not have.
He's
bought
getting
that building.
mimosas though, I heard, so
Oh, so well, we should let him have his non-conforming sign since he's
Yeah.
getting mimosas.
he brings money to Johnston. That's
Any
the general
abandoned-
rule.
Any abandoned sign or any sign that advertises a business or product no longer exists in your swimming premises. Whenever a business is discontinued, all signs shall be removed within 45 days.
There you go.
This gives you twice the amount of time
I
if a
think-
business is discontinued to
So if you-
continue it or remove it.
Those two don't fit together in my
No.
mind.
I think you have to shorten it.
For both.
If you abandon, if the business is gone, the likelihood that somebody else is gonna come in with it. You're gonna have sold it before you've ever abandoned it. No one's gonna abandon a store and then be like, and then I sold it 8 months later, like the
But
family
here's
diner
the
didn't even
thing.
close.
Is that if somebody
No, it
doesn't
never
want to do
closed.
That's what I
that,
mean.
you're not creating a hardship in my mind, because the cheaper route is going to be to come in and ask for a variance, and then the variance is going to be heard. And everybody has every right to approve a variance with conditions with time restrictions on it. Give yourself a year. Okay. Give yourself a year. It doesn't have to be 90 days. Give yourself, it's a hypothetical situation, a year to bring it up to conformity. You don't have to do it within 90 days.
Which is fair.
So it's a way to bring non-conforming signs into
You'd
compliance.
still own your non-conforming building too. Like, you're not just gonna like, if you pass away, even your estate is gonna own the building. So you're gonna sell it to somebody. So we're saying from the time, you're not just gonna have ownership in, floating out in the breeze. So we're talking ownership to ownership.
Well, I'm
We're
saying
not talking
like-
like business open to business open.
I'm saying
But
if
if the
like,
business doesn't
here's a
own the
prime
building.
example. If Shoals had a sign that just
Well,
said
then it would fall
Hardware.
under the
it did not have
the
the name
rental.
on it,
caveat that we had.
and they
You're
no longer
I keep
possess the
hearing
building.
talking,
It sits there for six months. And then Ace comes and buys it and they want to leave it up, but it's non-conforming, like they should have had to have changed it. 'Cause they could technically, it doesn't,
Sign has to have the name, address, phone number. It can't have advertising or any specific material.
who has name, address? Not everybody has name, address, phone number.
No, it's
You
only
can't,
possible.
you can't
have
advertise
more than
specific
that.
products.
Those are the only things you're.
You
allowed
can't have
to
a sign that says hardware.
Right, so the only way somebody's gonna keep a non-conforming sign is if they keep the same business name.
Right.
All right.
That's the point, is why do we want dead signs laying around for 90 days?
Because it's more generous than.
I appreciate the
45.
point. I think.
Why are we being generous
we're-
though?
You wanted 0 like
That's what I
5 minutes
think.
ago.
It should be none. That's why I'm still on that. If you've given your business
I'm a
up,
compassionate individual,
if you're
John.
giving your business up, why are you giving somebody? I see it as though it's possessing the ability for someone to pass the buck to somebody else. Is what I'm saying. It's like they're gonna sell it and then we're gonna go get on this new person and be like, your sign's gotta come down. They're gonna be like, what?
So then you miss an opportunity to get down an ugly sign.
We won't tell them their
That
sign has
happens
to
in real
come
estate
down.
all the time. Oh, hey, you bought something that does not conform. You gotta.
That's what I'm
fix that.
saying. Like you,
That
like
does
think about
happen
it.
all
If
the
it, like,
time.
in the same sense, think about
Jim,
logically,
Jim will
this.
tell you.
If you
Happens
buy
all the time.
property in there and it has a shed that's located improperly, right? And then you're the new homeowner and I come up to you, Jim comes up and he goes, you gotta move this shed because now we have a new survey. And you're like, what?
I think
You
we
would
should
be,
make it
you
45
would be
days
upset if you have to tear it down. Maybe you bought it because you like the shed.
Switch
This
it
is
back
an,
now.
this is an update up.
It's so
Yeah.
matter.
This is not in complimentary. This is updating. 45 tonight.
Yeah, you're giving
All
them
right.
more, not less.
So currently we have 45 days.
45 days to remove all signs from an abandoned. Period. That's,
What are you gonna do in
Well,
bin
no,
media?
that's
Well, this
It
is-
says bin
yeah.
media.
No, that's the,
90
that's
days.
that's not,
regular.
that's not.
No,
Won't, 'cause
no,
you said
I
Halloween
think you
is-
have, in our current code, Bailey, it doesn't say non-conforming, does it?
Well, oh, it expressed.
It says just
says-
signs.
Apply for any sign, any business that went
Non-conforming.
out of business.
I don't think it says non-conforming.
Manny will still be there.
It says any
That's a good
sign.
story.
This doesn't say any sign. This just says non-conforming
If
sign.
you're given a non-conforming more time, that doesn't fit.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, I guess it becomes non-conforming when that business isn't there anymore. I mean, that's the way I would read
If the
that.
business is sitting there and no one's running the business for 45 days, then they gotta get the sign. In my mind, I think that's fair.
If you close your doors, you have to get a new sign.
So
So
where's
like
Close your
the-
doors.
the
If you
family
close your doors
restaurant-
For 6 months. you
the
should have
family
to update your
restaurant
sign.
could-
Yeah, but if you close your doors, you still retain ownership. You still have to market that property. So you're gonna market the property as whatever business you had in there. They buy it, they still have that 45 days. I
So
would
we
guess.
dropped that same provision. You're right. Any abandoned sign, yada, yada, yada. We, whenever business discontinued, all signs shall remove within 30, we dropped it to 30 days.
Because we were talking about the nursing
Yeah.
home or whatever that was down
We
there.
changed that. So
Because that's what we were talking about. Cause they just, how long was that empty?
Oh, years.
Still.
But
Still is empty.
That's what I mean. But how long was it before they took the sign down?
they put up the new sign. It was north,
Like if the John-
and then they put
the
up
thing
their
is, so
sign.
you sell your business, if the business is if the business closes, okay, then you're trying to market for sale a closed business. If the business continuously
Like
ran,
the-
like the Johnstown Family Restaurant, right? If they didn't close their doors and they just want
It
to sell
never,
it
it
to
never would have went.
a new owner, then you would never have a problem. If they close their doors for too long.
It's like whatever the building
they
that's for
lose their right
lease
to have
on
that sign.
62.
Well, Johnstown
That's a
Family
non-conforming
Restaurant, you would,
sign.
something historic
that's
that's been
been
there
released.
forever, you would try to market
No,
that,
there's
or at
hasn't been
least
a
I
business in there
would.
forever.
But
Where's
like,
that?
It's on
you know.
62. It's one that says
And
for
again,
lease and
like
there's no
that
phone
kind-
number. So I don't know
something
how
like
you
that
never
that's
rent it.
historic can come in.
They should have
They
to,
want to change it.
Yeah.
Get with the time.
Have a
Get your sign and get.
That's, it's
Yeah.
not that, that's the cheapest way to go.
Well, it says for lease. You're talking about across from Lash.
Yeah,
It says for lease and it had a phone number on it.
I know. that's what-
And,
where's the
and I
phone
kept
number?
telling him, I said, are you gonna lease it? Well, I might. And I said, well, your sign is out of compliance. We took the
That's
phone
yeah.
number off.
I just figured he was a rental place, like he leased buildings.
No.
As long as it's been
He
there, I
doesn't
just
really
figured he
want to
leased
rent it
buildings.
because it's full of cars.
Oh, is it? That makes sense.
Just take your sign down.
So we dropping it to 30 or we raising 90 for the other one?
I think 30. I mean, I'm in favor of
30.
less than this.
And
You could have a lot going on in a business. I mean, a closed business, maybe the son's going to take it over, and dad's in the hospital or he died or something. I think 30 days is too tight myself. I really.
Yeah, but you could
do.
just come in. If you think somebody comes in, they say, hey, like Shoals, hey, our dad went to a nursing home and no one can run this building anymore, but we're trying to figure out a way to do it. I'm
Right.
pretty sure we'll all be like,
need-
Give him a
"Okay."
temporary
You
permit.
need some time. You need
Yeah.
some time to do that.
But if you just close your, the barber shop down the road closes,
well, you'll have some discretion too, because the definition of a closed business is it temporarily closed, it's a permanently. closed.
Right.
Like,
You can
there's gonna
temporarily
be-
cose a business to remodel it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's
yeah, you
gonna-
wouldn't
you'll
have to
some
redo your sign.
discretion,
Yeah.
like the
Well, this says a
subsequent-
business has ceased operations if it is closed to the public for at least 30 consecutive days.
We do have
60
it.
days.
Family business has been closed for more than 30 consecutive days because the new guy is doing
You technically get,
renovations.
you'd get 60 because you'd have 30 days after that to get rid of your sign.
30 days after
So
what?
he's gonna have
After
to,
the business.
under this
closes,
scenario,
the
yeah, it's
definition
gonna
is
be
it's
for
closed
years.
after 30 days.
this is a complicated one.
That's 30 days, not 60 days.
But then you get 30 days to remove your sign.
Everything about signs is complicated, believe me. You can have scenarios that exist.
People get emotional over signs. That's why there's a sign graveyard in Las Vegas. That's why people
My
buy
tendency
old
was-
signs to hang in their
was
garage. I mean,
Restrictive and give variances.
They
Yeah, I mean,
Have
if you
emotion
an
behind them.
extenuating circumstance, you're gonna come in and somebody's gonna be like, okay, this logically makes sense. But like, if somebody's like, well, I just don't think I want to run my business for the next year, and then I'm gonna open it back up. You're like, that
yeah, you
doesn't-
can't like peace out and go to
Yeah,
Bermuda.
That's what I mean.
Where does it
running the
say it?
building,
Where
but,
does it say that in the code?
Yeah.
Where does it say that you can get a variance for anything in the code? You just logically have to know it, or does it state it
No,
on page
It's in
one?
there.
Understood, but there's a limit to subjectivity and being able to apply it toward an exclusionary document like that. I understand what you're saying, though.
I often wonder why no one ever stole this Johnstown sign off the railroad station. Think about it.
It's been there forever.
It just says Johnstown. I was over there at the station with the property owner
One of my boys.
recently, and I found out it's cast iron. It probably weighs 300 pounds.
Jeez.
So
You
what
probably
you're
shouldn't have said
saying
that.
is,
To say it's
what
worth
you're
the
saying
money.
is
He
we gotta
said
get,
some have tried.
Let's get me going next
we
week.
need all of us to go down there.
I can recycle that. and-
It's non-conforming.
I got a truck.
I honestly, I feel like 90 days is, or 45 to where it currently is right now. It's probably sufficient.
Let's go
30
45.
30 feels a little tight. 15 more days will make a difference. I'm not sure, but at least it's in compliance with what we currently have.
Go 45. Settle that, settle there.
So we change them both to 45 days.
What, the vacating your sign?
And in
So you got a little bit more time to
34.04,
vacate, but it's consistent, not confusing.
so it's not an
Can you
arbitrary.
settle
number.
there? Could you settle on that one?
That way it's not an arbitrary number. It's something that we do.
I think we avoid a lot of confusion by making a match, I think.
34.04.
Easy for Jim, 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Jim's got to remember all this stuff.
Which
too,
it looks
so,
like that's
yeah.
what it was.
first you have to find out the story, what happened, then you decide what you can, what rule they have to
fixing it.
follow.
All right, so then
Jim's sign.
next one on here, the sign together, talks about it has to be maintained, clean, sanitary, and inoffensive condition. And things like that. If it's in a state of disrepair and it's out of compliance, you have the authority to go in and ask for it to be brought into compliance and not redone. Relocation replacement. So I added in here a section, I think, just to clear up some confusion. Non-conforming sign may not be replaced by another non-conforming sign except where changed conditions beyond the control of the owner render the sign's repair. Meaning,
You can repair a non-conforming sign.
yes.
You
If
just can't move it or change
You
it.
can
like force
repair it.
majeure, right? So if you've got a storm that comes
Hurricane,
through that knocks it down.
Yeah.
Tornado came.
Something like that. And it was in a state of decent,
You have to repair.
Yeah,
it
but
the
that's
exact
like
same.
exactly, it has to be the exact same.
That's a. How do you specify that?
Force majeure,
If I read that and my sign gets knocked all the way over by a windstorm and
Yeah.
completely is destroyed, I'm gonna put it back up.
yes.
Right,
You
you
can't.
you can.
That's what this is saying,
Yeah.
But if it's completely gone, why are you letting them put it back up?
because it was. It
If
was,
a store, if an act of God caused it or a truck runs into it,
It's
yeah.
true. We do that for non-conforming buildings
Yeah.
and businesses as well.
because you can repair, yeah, they do that for businesses.
It's out of your
Yeah, you can,
control.
you can repair something, you just can't, like Jim said, you can't
Replace
come in and update the sign. No.
Or if you leave it in a state of complete disrepair to where it falls down on its own, it's gone.
Yeah,
But if it gets hit, if
That would
something
be
else
your fault,
happens.
right?
yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what that's saying, because we do have that same application.
Let's say if the wind blows.
Now, we'll tell you, and I think I mentioned it before, just so you're aware. 10 years ago, when I started doing this job, Lash, General Motors was updating all Chevrolet dealerships, and they went with that. I call it like it's like an
Yeah.
M, the blue. And they also were going to update all the signs. Well, it had been kicked around in the planning and zoning for quite a while, and they were kind of at a loss. So I went out and talked to Eric Lash and told him, I said, look, he wanted to update his pole signs too with the new Chevy emblems on them, just the faces, leave the pole, leave the cabinet. And anyhow, it got into a legal battle. Eric got really hard-nosed about it. We had Jennifer Coughlin was our attorney at that time. And after 6 months, General Motors got involved. Anyhow, she told us her opinion was it wasn't worth what it was going to cost to take him to court. And we would probably lose because it's General Motors. So we gave up on it. So his signs are all illegal.
You had Coughlin versus Lash in that case.
Yeah, well, no, Coughlin didn't do anything with their signs.
No, I'm just saying.
Versus
Jennifer.
GM.
Jennifer.
Jennifer,
I think it was
Jennifer
Coughlin.
Coughlin.
I think
Was,
it
was our attorney at
Awesome.
that
I don't
point.
think her name was, her last name was Coughlin.
I think it was Krogan or something like that.
Oh,
And maybe it
It was
was.
Coughlin.
oh, I was gonna say, cause that'd
She,
be
she passed away of cancer.
only in a small town would that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just happen to be.
So sometimes with signs, it depends on how much money you're willing to spend on attorneys.
Yep.
So it does come back in here,
Good guy
the
always wins,
maintenance,
don't they?
the maintenance aspect of it, that it can be, like we just talked about, it can be repaired to its exact same state. It does have a provision in case damage occurs to the sign to the extent that more than 50% of the replacement value is lost, the sign shall be removed within 60 days.
Yeah, see, that goes against if it blows over and it's torn down. Or a truck smashes it.
And that came from the.
Truck's not gonna smash it. We have the bells now.
The one on the corner.
What is it?
So we
That's a
either
lot.
need to change the relocation or replacement paragraph or take that out.
Just take this out, I think.
I agree, that's
That out.
using an arbitrary. Seems like
Last couple paragraphs here, the inspection and removal. If any existing sign is found to be a hazard, shall be removed. And property owner assessed, variances are outlined already and penalties are listed here. And listed in another article. That is signs.
Oh, we're not done. Coming
Oh,
back.
until Kim.
Gets his. So Kim gets your drawings in there and then
We're
we're
done
gonna have to probably talk about those for a
We're
while.
done with round 3.
Yep.
And then we will have round 4 with them. But we can move on to the next section. This, which we only have a couple more sections left, I think, of the entire code, right?
We are moving right along.
So instead of getting 35, can I make a suggestion?
Time is it? I mean, it's 7:45.
this.
My suggestion, instead of starting 35, is I have 2 items to bring up to everybody.
And we still have the zoning inspector's report.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna recommend, if you guys do decide to table it, that you review this, read it, send me any questions. I've had Yaz read it. It's a little sensitive, I think, so.
Yeah.
um,
I mean, I read Yaz's points in there. Ben, how much did you have on it? I had just a couple things.
I had a few things. but not a
I
whole
haven't
lot.
gone through it yet.
And I wonder if we all have the same things.
We could
Let's
take
do it next time.
I am
Items
also
to
gonna warn
address.
you that we might have a lot of applications for the next meeting.
I know the next meeting is gonna be busy.
Good, they can come in. from
It's up
this.
to you.
They're gonna want to hear about this stuff too, probably. Be good entertainment for the crowd.
They won't stay that long.
Well, I don't know. They might
I
read.
wouldn't.
The biggest thing when this was brought up
That was gonna take-
the last time that we walked through it is to, again, like some of the other things that we do when we talked about this in the previous iteration, is to protect the village and to have something on the city. to have
Right, you
something
have
on the
to-
record as a baseline rather than having nothing.
Teresa's actually written a chapter on this that was just never voted on.
I did
I
that.
can email
chapter.
that to you guys as well.
We were looking at entertaining this sooner rather than later in case.
And I did that with an attorney.
Yeah, you have to define everything. You have to make sure you cover all your bases.
Right
on
now,
this.
there's nothing.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that seems to be the trend with how businesses come to Johnstown. We don't have anything in the books and then they show up and then we don't like it.
And that's why we want to be proactive.
Yeah.
We have nothing right now.
I had a guy calling me about, he wanted to do it.
Somebody
That's
five,
how it
6
came
years ago,
up.
too, that was talking about
And,
It was brought up too, which is why this was a topic of conversation and including it in this. And we
So
were,
you can currently, you're allowed to do that here?
yeah, you could do it right now. You can get away with it.
Yeah, I mean,
You just have to put the billboard behind.
it's
it.
not an illegal business. It's
71
just
in Brandon.
highly regulated.
You can't make it so restrictive that it can't be here. And what
Right.
we ended up with two places it could be. One is in the corporate park on Commerce. That was one of them. I remember Ben, the other one was out, it was around Last Chevrolet out in that area there. That's the only two places they could have gotten it into
I
the
think
village.
I think this carries that.
It's about defining
so.
the distance from public
Right.
spaces. and
Right.
things
And as we spread out as a town, there's more places to put it.
It practically had to be 1,000 feet from any school,
Right.
playground, daycare, medical facility,
Right.
and that kind of.
There was a residential component in there
Yeah.
too that I
Mhm.
saw.
That's again, that's the point of this
Yeah.
piece of it.
Right. It's more for defining what you don't want.
So we want to table it, get it next time.
If that's a consensus, I mean, I think I would be for going through it this time. I mean, if we think we can get it done, because I know the next meeting is going to be busy, is the only reason that I'd want to go through it tonight.
Two items that I have to bring up are hotel and the design map.
In relation to this.
No. The design review, the design reg map,
I have an item I wanted to bring up
And,
too, actually.
hotel
Okay.
motel
In
definition.
other business, you're saying. Okay. All right. Well,
Businesses.
if you guys want to hold up on this, I'm fine with that.
That's fine.
And then we'll go on to,
You must
Ours-
send us your notes. so they- and send
Yeah.
you-
Yeah, I'll send,
into
yeah, send me any
Teresa's
questions you
chapter.
have and I'll do the best I can do to answer them. And then I'll send you Teresa's chapter as well.
All right, we'll go into the inspector report. It looks a lot of carryover from last month, it looked like.
Yeah, a lot of repetitive stuff, so.
See what the skill games did change their sign.
Skill Games did change their sign, I saw that. Yeah.
And we have another guy that wants to open a skill game on South Main in one of the empty storefronts.
Hmm.
Whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know. He's called me. He's actually been calling me for 6 months looking for a spot. And now he thinks she's found one and that's where it's at right now.
Great.
We've had
Um,
one down there before.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have.
We've had two.
Yep, you're right, Ben. And we've had 2 poker rooms. They don't last long.
Let's see. Just kind of going through there. I had one question, but I can't remember what it was now.
I will tell you this, the barn at Casson and John. I've been working with the family there and they are going to, they informed me today, I gave them 60 days. They are going to take it down. It'll be going before the end of the year.
Are they gonna build a new one?
They haven't said that right now. They actually, I went by there today and they were in there.
What's this crossroads on that?
It's at Casson and John.
I bet he wished he would have done his fence different now.
Pardon me?
I said. he'll
If he'd
probably
have
wish
done
he
his
would've done
fence different.
Fence, yeah,
You have a
fence is
divot for it.
nice.
It looks really good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fence.
Are they gonna take the awnings? I just keep seeing the awning stuff on here. Are they gonna take the awnings down at the other building Ghost Rider owns? Or replace them anytime soon? I'm just curious if anybody knows.
No, I don't know. I really don't know.
They usually do it like quick. That's why I just wondered if they were gonna like,
They wanted, before they started on the other project, they want to finish the outdoor patio. And it will be finished this year, but it won't officially open.
they've been in that building doing stuff.
Yeah, they've been doing some stuff in there.
I just wonder because they always do it. And like everybody now has done their awnings. I'm like, man, like they're normally like, I
Yeah.
just figured they just rip them off.
And there is a awning frame next to the pub and there's new awning ordered for that one. I think I had that in there.
You heard anything about that back patio they have?
That's what I'm saying. It'll be finished this year, but not open.
Oh, okay.
It'll be too late in the season. They said that if people are in the restaurant and it's a nice evening, they want to go out there and wander around, probably in November, you'll be able to do that. But for right now, It's not far enough along.
Pizza oven will heat it up.
Yeah, the pizza, he's waiting to get the pizza oven
It'd be
done.
600,
He's
that'd be close to 700 degrees. That'll heat it up in there.
He's probably excited to get it done so they don't have to put their wood out back like that. Cause I bet that drives him crazy.
Well, he mentioned that
I
when
know,
we
that's what I'm
approved
saying. I
that.
bet
He
it
said he
drives- I
wanted to
bet
hide that
aesthetically
wood.
it drives him crazy. He probably
Yep.
drives by and he's like,
All right, oh, is there anything in there? Down in Rolling Meadows for grass? Did you talk about that issue at all?
I didn't think I had one on Lewis Drive for grass and the guy got it cut. But
Across from
that's,
Park Lane over there.
I didn't have any on Park Lane.
Okay, there's one on the corner across from the park that's been there for a minute.
I'll check it out.
finally mow it. Should mow it.
If I ever saw anyone there, I would hit them up.
Just do it.
Yeah,
I did my notes.
Right.
it's the opposite of a
Hey.
fugitive wandering in.
I know. I'm like, oh man, are we
It
gonna?
is the exact opposite.
He knew what time it was. He thought it was gonna happen again, man.
It's on,
Check in to make sure everybody's.
it is Park Lane.
Park Lane, yeah.
Okay. I'll check on it.
All right.
You should do a welfare check too, evidently.
We've been hearing a lot from Duncan, looking for a spot,
Yeah,
looking for some land to purchase. So
Duncan,
Dunkin'
Dunkin'
Donuts,
Donuts, they want to build, they
Wanna build
built
on
2
62.
Dunkin'
stores.
Diamonds and Gold.
Build
too.
one here.
that's not what I'm.
Andrew would love that.
So far I haven't heard anything.
Is that because the chief walked?
I was
in?
gonna say, was
I
that-
remembered that.
That's what reminded you of it.
No, I was gonna tell you anyways. I've heard that from them, from the owner, that they're in talks with the property owner, but I haven't heard anything else, like if they've purchased a property or not.
Would be great.
They're trying, but
They're trying.
it's
They
gotta
could
be
do
on
a-
62.
There's plenty of land for sale on 62
It's gotta be on 62.
in town.
It could go right next to a big tree too.
Nope, that one's gone. They sold that.
Keep the tree and give us donuts.
well, that was a lot they were wanting to buy and they waited too long.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they admitted it, they waited too long. So,
Well, I think Josh Rubin has plenty of properties for sale on 62 that they could look at.
There are some woods.
They've been for sale for a long time,
That's fair.
Yeah. All right.
years.
We done with Jim? Any questions?
Something you wanna bring up?
Yeah, Jesse, what do you got?
So I think we talked about it before, but I don't know if we ever got any traction. And Bailey, this is more of a question than and an idea. It came up in conversation that there might, whether that new development was still a PUD, because we didn't, it might have expired, it might not have. Did we give them notice? And I was thinking, I had an idea a while ago that we had like a calendar of stuff that's gonna expire. Or is there a control, does the new system allow you to put like a date, an expiration date on some of this? So the new system allows us to track that a lot easier.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can assign expiration dates to applications and permits. Yeah.
Conditionalities and
Because
things
that's a huge, that's kind of a huge control gap that we had in our previous processes, right? It's always like,
Mhm.
these guys 5 years ago, they did this and that, and we don't know what's
like
going
20 years
you
ago.
know.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that I wanted to check on, so. The new system,
That's all you got.
I thought it figured it was probably,
Like I assign expiration dates to food truck permits. They're only allowed to be there the days that they apply for. Not that we've had a problem with them, but just so it's on the permit.
Do you have a decent number of those?
Yeah, I think this summer we probably had
They gotta probably
10
all those
maybe.
car meets.
So
all the car
yeah,
meets.
Yeah, they go to all the downtown Johnstown
That's
events.
good.
Yeah,
those ones don't have to have,
they don't have
They
to.
don't.
Okay.
There's special.
No, I meant.
How does-
the car
so-
meet at
yeah,
Collins?
that one they
That's
do.
probably,
have
that's
to.
probably like the one they get the most.
Mhm.
When Ace comes, we'll probably get the Schmitz truck too.
Solid.
And they'll have to get a permit.
Now, how does, so the food trucks are all mobile, but if we got something like Oxby's, you've been to Oxby's
They
yet?
have, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So if we got an Oxby's, how does that work? Cause
We
it's just a container.
We wouldn't allow them to operate.
Okay.
We don't allow permanent permanent, temporary vehicles.
Cause
like
it can
that.
be moved. I mean, it's a shipping container. They
They
can
do
pick it
move
right
it.
up. They
Well,
move it all the,
we
they
would
have to
al-
move it in Pataskala.
We would
It's
allow
gotta be
them if they
moved.
operated the same as food truck and they moved
So
it
it
like
would
every
just have
3
to operate,
days. And they
move
have
every
to have
3
a
days.
letter from a business owner.
Okay.
Had to be invited, number one.
Yeah.
Be here.
I know they're in Utica right now.
I never heard of them. You say
But-
it's in a container?
So yeah,
Yeah, just
Oxby's.
drive-
So
it's
there's
right-
one on
it's-
21st Street
Yeah.
in Newark. There's one in Utica and there's one in
Yeah, just feel like you're
Pataskala.
going to
The one
Bellevue.
in-
It's a
right
shipping
there.
container and they have,
It
I
says
mean, they
mobile
have it like
restaurant.
an air
But
conditioner
the
and
one
all
in
of their.
Pataskala doesn't move.
Well, the
It
one in
stays
Utica,
there.
one in Utica doesn't move either, but they can. It says, what's the sign say? It says. something.
Originally, the one in Pataskala had to move every so often, then I think they changed their zoning around.
Technically, everything.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
they
but this
said-
thing's,
I think
this
it
thing, they
says,
just put
like,
it up on a trailer and
temporary
move it.
mobile.
I
It says
mean,
something to indicate that
They
it
don't
won't
like
be
their
there.
spot, they can just relay.
Or-
But they do wings, and fried stuff. It's good.
Hmm.
I was thinking about that the other day and I was like,
I don't
they
know
have
if I
to
can
move
get
every
food
3
in a
days.
trailer. I don't know.
It's very good.
it's great. And I will say that they have like their heating and cooling and their ventilation system is insane to make that work. Have you been there? Yeah, check it out.
One by my house. The one in Pataskala is right by my
Mm-hmm.
house.
Was there, do you have anything else?
That's it? Is all you had, Jesse?
That's all I got, guys. Sorry.
Okay.
That was
Bring my A
more
game
pertinent
tonight,
than
I
that.
guess.
The two items that I had, Bailey, if you would mind, if you have quick access to maybe the design review map and the auditor's map, or one or the other, whichever one's quicker. But essentially, a call out here that has been brought up that I think was somewhat of an oversight just with respect to the map and the identification of what falls where. And Bailey's honed in on there because she knows what I'm talking about. So that the blue area that is in the corridor district currently, that is closer to Duncan Plains. There are several parcels down there that are included in the corridor district where the design regs have those parcels listed as having buildings pretty close to the road. Envisioning that in an area where it's currently 55 feels like a little bit of a miss. So my suggestion is going to be that for those couple parcels here, really right here, which I think, I mean, until you get to Denny Dawson, we may want to pull out
What if you just start it?
and change the map to reflect that.
What if you just start it here and then this?
I think that's fine. My biggest call out is to change it to currently enforce the corridor district where it's 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Because having a building close to the road, even if you're decelerating from 55 to 35, still just feels like it's too close.
Not
to
a fan of like the Hendron model down there.
the Hendron model.
62, they're in the 55 zone. Tippit and Tippit.
Oh, the
62.
far- the
But that
farmer's
building
market.
is so much further back. from the road.
Huge parking lot there.
Yeah, which taking these parcels out of that corridor district would allow for a building like that, similar to Granville Mill, which is what I'm thinking
Mhm.
about.
Back.
So my suggestion is going to be, if we do a motion, a second, a vote, is to send this to council for consideration on Tuesday to amend the map to remove those parcels from the design review. map.
Yeah, because I heard Ace Hardware is having a hard time with their, is that one of the parcels, is Ace Hardware's new spot out there?
That was brought up
Be.
and that I looked at the map and realized that it's a fair call out because it's in a 55 zone. And you don't want the building that close to the road.
No.
And so I think, when we looked at it, I think the intention was there.
Yeah.
And
Speed- We didn't take the speed limit into
correct, and I
consideration.
think that was.
But are you saying their parking lot would be out in front of the?
It could be if we removed it from the blue, from the corridor.
I mean, not necessarily, because there are other supplemental standards that that should be utilized and discussed
Yep.
with respect to the balance of the document, even though there are some parcels in here that don't fall within that. You know, we can still use, in my opinion, I've used the Western Licking County Accord portions of the study area that don't apply to specific areas of the village, but still represent the logic that we want to enforce. And I think we can still use this as a foundational document for some of those conversations. There'll still be a COA. There'll still be things that come before the design review board and things like that with respect to any development that happens on those parcels. I just don't feel like it makes sense to have a building that close to the road in a 55-mile-an-hour zone.
Right now it's 55 though, but as Johnstown spreads out that way and gets out
Maybe not
closer
stay
to Duncan,
Agreed.
the whole area is gonna change probably.
And
So what's-
just as malleable as this map is now to change
Yeah.
that back, it's easy to change.
Yeah, do you have, yeah. what are
Except
the-
for you'll
what are
have
the-
one building there that
That's the
doesn't
catch.
conform.
You could
That's
have,
the catch.
you could have a couple like that. I thought about that provision as
Yeah.
well. My point of view is that that may not be a bad thing because it may break up the facade of what that space looks like, and you wouldn't have necessarily a row of buildings. You might have a couple that are set back, but it gives that corridor some texture that it might not otherwise have. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it hurts anything.
Then if your business is behind businesses that are closer, then you're, it's a disadvantage.
I mean, I think I'm neutral on it right now only because of what's there now. Like now, you totally make sense. Like it's
That's the hard
55
part.
in
That's
there
the
and you're
hard
like,
part
yeah,
of
but
these decisions.
I'm trying to
What are
think
the
20
lot
years
sizes?
down the road that the corners there are gonna be a hot place to have a business and
yeah.
we don't know
Yeah.
what's gonna be in there. So we might,
If
That
and
literal
when there was
corner.
any annexation.
Literal corner.
because we're gonna be done at Duncan Plains. I mean, Johnstown's not gonna go further to New Albany.
If there was any additional annexation down here, then I don't know why there wouldn't be a conversation about starting a 35-mile-an-hour zone.
Right,
And then that would justify having this area,
right.
but nobody knows this timeline.
Mhm.
You have to look at the
Okay, this
parcels.
timeline
What are
is
the
for
parcels?
here for this area for at least 6 years.
Right. There's no discussion about anything there.
And so, working with the here and now, all it takes is an active.
Well, having farm field there though, that's gonna get transferred, that could transfer tomorrow. Cause it's a blank field. Where the houses are, that's totally different, cause those,
Sure.
that's gonna be hard to change where the houses are.
Correct.
We have one house that got torn down over there. Closer to the corner, so that could change tomorrow.
Yep.
But the rest, probably not, other than the business park over there. Where they have like the paint shop and stuff, that's gonna be a lot harder to change. I mean, so that's at least 10 years out probably.
So
Cause
are-
they're gonna wanna keep, those businesses they work, they've been there. But if they get their dollar, everybody moves tomorrow, but
And Ben, let's not forget too, Mr. Holbrook, annexation. He's supposed to, remember, do the annexation,
That's my point, is
and
that
that's still there.
that's been on the table for
Yeah.
6 years and hasn't been, at least 6 years and hasn't been.
And
executed.
I probably pushing it. We ran a water line out there.
that's what I mean. We have infrastructure in the area now, so it's only a matter of time before those fields get turned
So
over.
is it a best, is our best course to remove that now? Or keep it now and just give people passes, give Ace Hardware, or whoever a pass on the standard, how their design is, I don't. Because you want to keep, I'd like to encourage the development, other development, but I don't want to prevent. It's the catch-22 about the design standards. It's like, you don't want to prevent development by having
Sure.
too stringent.
Well, I'm trying to think,
I don't know, it's a tough one. I mean, there
What
needs to be
is-
some, there needs to be
I
some
definitely want to
mechanism
hear our
right now for
semi-public
someone like
comment
Ace
on it.
Hardware to could be happy.
So with the
Come
speed
in.
limits and all,
Off. So that's, I like your solution is one solution. Is there, what would be the other solution to come before the design review ordinance?
because we're moving, yeah, we're
I'm
moving.
gonna
parking.
say that Ace Hardware has not brought anything to the village. They haven't requested anything. They haven't brought anything to,
I just heard a rumor that they're turned off by our design review standards.
and I've heard that too, but they haven't brought anything forward to be considered. So
This has nothing to do with any particular development, other than the fact that
Okay. Keep it
it's in a
general.
55-mile-an-hour zone, and having those buildings close to the road in a 55-mile-an-hour zone just seems like a miss, in my opinion, which is why I wanted to bring it up. Because it makes sense to me to pull that back, because we don't know the
Yeah.
timeline. We don't know the here and
Yeah.
now.
What,
I see it as a minimal risk.
what are the lot sizes in there?
They're rather large.
But one of the
That's
things,
like,
They're
super
big
that's
now.
the really big question.
I feel like
One,
that one of the
lot
biggest things our design review
Because
standards do is try to,
Depends on that,
is try
determines
to,
what building's gonna go there, that determines what what you want it to look like.
well, yeah, because
If
we,
it's like a doctor's office, you don't want parking in the front.
I think we should keep it. I mean, part of me says keep it because this is the way we want it to be. We want our look to develop that way, right, in the future. So if we think it's gonna be 35 in the future and we wanted to match this, the other corridor district properties in the future, getting rid of it, you're shooting yourself in the foot for not, it ever being developed the way that you want it to be developed. Or
There's a reason why certain towns look exactly the way that they design them. Because they put these in a long time before it got to the point.
Right now, it's a fluid situation. It could be whatever it is, because it's a bunch of farm fields mostly out there, so it can change back and forth. But the first time somebody buys that and it becomes that kind of building, then you're stuck.
Yep.
So, because
Yeah.
if you let one business do it and the next business comes in and wants parking out front to be back,
Yeah, I don't want.
then they're gonna want,
If it was me.
and I wouldn't mind some parking in the front. I mean, honestly, you're pretty far out of town, so I wouldn't mind some parking out front,
Sure.
but not a ton. And I mean, we talked a lot about that corridor area and what we wanted to see. Obviously, that doesn't really work with it.
I think we gotta keep it because.
I mean, if you have a
you gotta-
specific, if it's
if you-
hindering a specific project or something, or there was a discussion to come in like that, maybe.
What's the mechanism
but-
for that? The design review board could give you a variance or something, or they have to come to us to get it. What if they wanted to be
We're-
further setback?
They want a variance on this document, they have to go to design review board.
What if,
They want a variance on the zoning document, they go to you.
It'd be
so
more
they
of a-
would get a variance from the design review board if it was a design review?
If
Board.
it's
Yeah.
on the number of parking spots, they'd come to you. If it's on the location of the parking, they'd go to design
Yeah.
review board.
Because that's more under the COA.
And I'm
So the
good with,
design
I'm good
review
with the
board-
design review board having the flexibility to make those decisions on a case by case basis. I don't know. I just think the speed limit's gonna lower, and if we don't craft our standards the way we want it to go, then it ain't gonna go that way, and it's pointless.
I just, at this point, the fact that they're not, there is no timetable to say when they will. And that's-
Never, but.
If a business
They may
wants,
never, but the point is that with the legislative authority that is had, as easy as it is to move these out, it's easy enough to move them back in when and if that speed limit changes. So it's not as if anything is stuck. The entire documents that we have.
What about we try to suggest, well, we can't do the speed, that we can't control that speed limit, can we?
We
'Cause it's
cannot.
the state's road, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
We change the
Well,
speed
it's
limit,
outside
that
of
would
the
help
road.
us too.
Well, that's my point, is that if that other piece gets annexed in, or any other individual here, is that I don't know why there would be some kind of entertainment of changing the speed limit to be 35 or Dunkin' Plains therein. And then at that point, you not only have these other parcels to account for, but if it drops to 35 at Dunkin' Plains, absolutely.
So
Then there
if-
really isn't a safety call at that point because you're 35 miles an hour in. And then this whole corridor meets that definition.
Yeah, but there's enough of a buffer there at 55. I mean, somebody's got to get pretty squirrely and come up onto the, for a car to run up onto there, they got to get pretty crazy.
Have you seen, did you see the accidents that we had at Mink over by the water plant before we lowered that to 35?
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be like winter time with ice or something
So if
like
we
that.
annex this, and at that point, we would have control.
Yeah,
of
but
the
that's
speed limit.
a curve and a hill.
Well, we
It's
we can't
straight.
write tickets on the other side of the road.
There would be, I would imagine similar to the conversation that happened. in Mink. The speed limit. Is there probably be a conversation with the county commissioners about getting their approval to change the speed limit and give us the ability to enforce on both sides.
Right, not-
So technically, an officer in that particular area could not sit stationary and run traffic. However, the officer was in that particular area. he's still blind. And like citation, it has to be done under the state section that says
If that area were to be annexed and say the annexation goes to the middle of the road, we would have the ability to write on one side of the road,
both sides of the road.
both sides of the road. So that's why I say we would
Alright,
entertain the change in the speed limit at that point.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it either way, I think.
Eventually, Ben, I agree with your point and I see your point. Eventually, it's going to be 35 at Dunkin'
Yes.
Plains.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
that's just the way it's
And I'm
going.
not disputing that. I'm
Yeah.
disputing.
I don't know when, but
How long it's gonna be.
Because there's like how many of the houses over there are rentals too? I mean, there's what, probably 2 houses where people actually own and live in them,
They're
right?
on the other side of the road. They're not even.
there's a twin single Those
Right.
are both rentals.
Right. So the rentals could change tomorrow if they get their.
The
permit.
houses on the other side of the road are all
That's-
lived in
I'm
by.
I'm
the
just more
owners.
worried about the people who are owner occupants over there.
Sure.
Other than that, it's all business already. I mean, it's a rental already, so it's already a business.
I just think that
So-
that area needs to have buildings at this moment further back from the road because of this inherent safety risk of having a higher speed limit. And having those buildings closer to the road with the higher speed limit.
I don't
as
think they
it
should
is
just do a
today.
hill and a drain.
I think they
ditch.
can ask
It
for a
defeats-
variance if they want to
defeats the
be.
Purpose of the corridor district, which is closer buildings, because you're looking at windows, you want to be looking into the buildings. And you're promoting walkability. I don't want a sidewalk, real close up against here, because in this instance, now you're requiring sidewalks. I mean, it's difficult enough right now with Granville Mill having a sidewalk out there. Granted, it doesn't connect to anything.
Right.
But you've got, 55.
If we take it out of
Accelerating.
if we take it out of the corridor, would they have to have a sidewalk?
Yes.
They still would, okay.
They're built, it's just not gonna be
Any
the same. it's not
New
gonna be the same
structure in
vision.
the village has to have a
Yeah.
sidewalk regardless of where you are.
Just where the building is. and
What would it be
relation
if we took it out of corridor? What others?
Just wouldn't be in a
in-
design review district.
Okay,
Granville Mill would be the example. That's my point, is the inherent safety risk of having a building that close. I don't think it is a risk with aesthetics in that area. And if and when the speed limit drops and that corridor meets more of the intent behind the corridor district, then it's easy enough to add those back in to the overall overlay district. But as it is right here and now, I would.
I think
have
if you
this-
change it, you have to leave it alone.
Yeah,
If you change, you have to leave it alone because it's gonna look.
Right
it
now,
will
if a
look- it will look
business-
Ridiculous to have
right now, if a business
five
had a problem
buildings
with
that
it,
look
they
like
can file
Granville
a
Mill
variance
and
anyway.
then 5 buildings that don't, because then you're gonna have front backs and they're gonna look like flag lots.
And
It's gonna
we
look
are
let's think
stupid.
through this scenario.
That's what I mean.
In Ben's
Yeah.
defense, let's think through this scenario. If a business came in right now, and I'm just gonna say Ace Hardware again, because it's gonna be an elephant in the room here, and they want to have a further setback, and it makes sense for them, and we give that to them now, then what's the point of having it in the corridor if we're gonna make an exception for everything? Would you make that exception for Ace Hardware? Okay, if you would say no, you gotta design it up to our corridor now, then you should keep it in corridor. If you would give Ace Hardware that variance now, then I think that you might as well just take it out now, kind of. You see my point where I'm going with that? Like, if you give a couple of variants, it's the same thing as not having anything.
I think we have a plan for the area that we talked about. I think we know what's gonna happen with that area. It's gonna get developed. So I think we leave it. If somebody wants to really change it and it's a deal breaker, they can file a variance. We can talk about it, but ultimately, I think we talked a lot about our vision for that area. And we'll probably have a similar vision on 37, I would think. And we'll hold people to that too. So if you're gonna hold them to a standard in the rest of the area, I think you gotta hold them there. So we know New Albany is gonna have up to Green Chapel, so we're gonna start at, the other side of that. And Duncan Plains there is where Johnstown's gonna start.
They already own all the land to put buildings in, whatever they
Yeah,
want there.
they're gonna have everything
They
up
want every kind of corner
62,
tippet.
so Johnstown will start there at Duncan Plains, and that's where the vision will start, and we'll have it look a certain way. And who knows what they'll do with their side? It could all be warehouses. Hopefully it's something nice, but we'll find out.
I'll make the motion and.
That's what I was gonna say. I'll go ahead because I think this may be something that is brought up.
Council's gonna shoot us down if we leave the corridor, I bet.
I don't know.
I guess we can't necessarily predict what they're gonna do.
But our future land map always showed that as business all the way to Duncan.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's disputing the type of commerce that would happen down there. It's just the location of.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to remove those parcels from the corridor district.
I'll second.
All right, we have a roll call.
That's weird because behind me.
I know, I was waiting for
I looked
Teresa.
over and I was like,
I
So
was like,
Ben,
wait,
so Ben motioned and Ron seconded. Ryan Green,
no,
John Merriman,
no.
Jesse Koppel,
ask that.
No, you just have to, you have to vote your conscience.
Wants to call a friend.
Phone a
Phone a
friend.
friend.
Getting sweaty thinking about it.
I'll go with Ben, on removal. So Ron's got it.
Is that a yes or no?
Yeah, yes, I voted yes, I guess.
Bentley,
Yes.
Ron Dane.
Yes.
Somebody's.
Oh, no.
So,
I'm
no, listen, I appreciate entertaining that piece of it. Another piece to bring up is the hotel and motel aspect. And I sent you a couple things if you wouldn't mind bringing them up. And this goes back to the Airbnb conversation.
Yeah.
Man, that was like a lot.
That's what I mentioned at council the other night. I said, if we're not gonna be able to police that at all, we need to create a mechanism for these things to come into Johnstown.
Is the point to to permit them or to prohibit them?
I thought originally it was.
Where did we end up with that? That was so long
I
ago.
was coming from the point of view of prohibition.
That's what I thought it was.
So what I have found out through research of the bed tax, the state definition of a hotel and motel, like everything else, it comes down to definition. Right? Ron, I think you sent over a couple things with hotel and motel. But at the end of the day, what we're able to do is we can define what a hotel is for us. And the state definition has hotel as 5 units or over. I think the county defines it as 5 units or over. But there is a provision in the state statute, the ORC, that says that municipalities and otherwise can also include 4 units and fewer in the definition of hotel. And that would also incorporate Airbnb type short-term transient accommodations as how a
So even
surrounding
even a
municipality.
single unit Airbnb could.
We talked about them mostly with the accessory dwelling unit,
for
the
any-
That was the
ADUs.
bit, yeah.
That was
the big
that
talk.
was where they tied in that.
So what I'm going to suggest is our current code, and if you Bailey can pull up the 2 links, if that's okay. Upper Arlington most recently enacted a conditionality to Airbnbs, and then they outright prohibit them. So there's a Newsweek article or a This Week article, which is number 1, where Upper Arlington says no to short-term rentals. And that goes into the definition mechanism that they had defining hotel and defining transient accommodations. And then they've got an entire section that they use through those definitions to enact a bed tax or, hotels that are allowed. But essentially, the point of this is to show those 2 pieces, and the other was from their minutes. I went back and looked at Upper Arlington's minutes. They updated and passed the prohibition on hotel and transient accommodations in residential districts. Okay, so that's essentially what it would do.
Yeah.
So the proposal that I have is to redefine what we have in our zoning code under 1121.02A35 to read essentially what the Upper Arlington definition of hotel is, which is up here. And that is every establishment kept, used, maintained, advertised, or held out to the public to be a place where sleeping accommodations are offered to guests in which 5 or more rooms are used for the accommodation of such guests, whether such rooms are in one or several structures. The hotel term shall also include motel. So that covers hotel and motel for 5 rooms or over. I also suggest adding to 1121.02A90 a new definition of transient accommodations, which is defined as means every establishment kept, used, maintained, advertised, or held out to public place offered to guests in which 4 or fewer rooms are used for the accommodation of guests, whether such rooms are in one or several structures. So then you define anything from 1 all the way up, right? With transient accommodations being the most likely Airbnb
Right.
situations you'd find. But really what it is defining this as transient accommodations, anything less than 30 days. Right? So if we were to propose adopting those two definitions within the zoning code, then we want to update to those SR1, SR2, UR1, UR2, and AR1 to hotel and transient accommodations as defined in section 1121 are hereby prohibited in residential districts. Right? So hotel and transient accommodations, you wouldn't be able to have in residential districts at all. And then similar to what we just did is update in 1155, 57, 67, and 1169 that they are conditionally approved, which is kind of what we just did.
Additionally, in GCC 1.
Right, those are the GCC 1, GCC 2, VC,
Right.
and whatever 1169 is, I can't recall. So that would take care of those two mechanisms. And then what it would take from that point is to define them further within the administrative code. And if there were to be any type of entertainment of any type of bed tax, you would have those definitions that we would take over.
Right.
Because I printed out, Upper Arlington's current regulations are pretty straightforward.
Ben, are you proposing make that change now or make it into our updated code? Both, okay.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I know I looked at Columbus and Clintonville. I think Clintonville had something separate. Columbus has something. I looked at Nashville. They have a really good one. Buckeye Lake is creating one right now.
So they don't want Airbnbs. at
Buckeye Lake wants to prohibit them, which is odd, I think, because
I
you'd
do
think
too.
that they would want some out there, but that's
Well,
on them.
You got places like, what's the one down by Logan, Hidden Valley? Whatever.
They want to preserve home ownership out there at Buckeye Lake is what their
Sure.
thing is.
Makes sense.
So I could see both sides, but that's up to them. It's tourism versus home ownership. Totally get it. That's up to them.
So what would happen if
But,
we had someone do an Airbnb then?
If we
And
found out about it,
Airbnb-
we'd send them a letter that they were operating a not permitted use.
An Airbnb residentially, I mean, that's what we talked about, we were against, but even when Ghost Rider came in and was talking about their project originally, we asked them
Stuff like this.
if this was
We
gonna
do.
be that,
We do.
we wanted to
It
create
goes back
that
to the general
mechanism,
law.
and we didn't get the chance, and then we got busy with everything else.
I like it.
I like the
I mean,
idea as long as we keep it in conditional if we're gonna allow them.
Right.
Yeah.
Because right now, I think in the council was looking at, it wasn't even conditional. I think it was.
Yeah, they moved it to.
Yeah, it
They
conditional.
moved to
Conditional.
conditional,
You
they had a
split them
meeting,
up.
yeah,
Okay.
they had another meeting after we went. I went to that one and we talked about it and they did conditional,
Yep.
so. it
This
worked out,
would
but-
keep that in line and it would ensure that in the residential districts, it's not even going to be entertained.
Yeah, I like it. I think I'm on board.
And I told you that has been a problem in Leafy Dell.
And the thing is,
We
that
had a house and a guy started taking, he was, whatever you want to call it, he was renting rooms. And all of a sudden they went from 2 cars at his house to like, he was renting rooms to couples. And all of a sudden they had 10 cars.
Sounds like
Literally.
So I know Newark has like a provision for sleeping rooms or something like that. So I don't know what that's just one room, renting one room, but I think yours encompasses everything,
Everything.
so.
So
The Upper
we still
Arlington
allow
one
hostels
encompasses
here?
it, but-
You can still rent a room out. You just have to rent it for more than 30 days.
Yeah.
'Cause then you're a tenant.
Right,
so that's what this would accomplish. And there's more to it. And I plan to bring up the balance in finance on Tuesday when we talk through it as part of the budget conversations and things like that. But this, at least, I feel like the Upper Arlington model is very good and would get us to where we were talking about before when we were talking about
does this,
ADUs and everything. like
does this define the number of days in there?
Yeah, I think we might want to add the day
'Cause
limit.
I think we'll have to add that. And that may help business too, because I've seen it in other places where you can't rent for less than 2 or 3 days. So that helps the rental place out too, because you automatically get 3 days.
So
So,
I don't think we should do that. I think we should just in the hotel and transient
we're-
accommodations thing, say that these are considered renting for any time less than 30 days.
the problem is though, I mean, I guess with hotels, you have people staying one night all the time, but the problem becomes when you have people staying one night
You gotta be a hotel.
and then we're in and out, and that's,
Do it. Right?
no, well, the problem can be for, like Marvin was saying, by the hour. types. But, and that's why I think Newark did something about sleeping rooms. I've seen before, there's no sleeping rooms or whatever they said, however they did it, but.
So I sent this to Bailey. She's got it up here. I would, similar to the other one. After I can make the motion in a second, a vote just to send this to be.
Do you want to see
Ordinance form.
these?
Do we want it to come back before planning and zoning to look at it again? or just
No,
send
I
it
think I'm
directly to
good with,
planning and
if
zoning?
we just use
I
theirs.
wanted to come back because I think there was some things that we wanted to see added in there. And we might want to compare it against some other places.
Some things to be added.
I mean, we might have some points to be added in there. And we may want to compare it against other locations that have done this. I like this plan. I don't have a
Another look,
problem
I
with it,
mean,
but-
I don't have a problem with that. I don't know what else we would add though. But I tried to be pretty succinct with this, which is all we're doing is updating the definition, adding a definition, and then updating the provisions in 4 to.
Get it off our plate. So that we're just, the only
That's
change,
all.
the only difference between us and UA is gonna be the number of days, right? We're putting in a day requirement.
No, I think Upper Arlington has it in there under their administrative piece when they talk about the tax portion of it. Which I didn't include it in this, but I'm fine
You're
including.
saying they do their number of days in the bed tax.
I believe so, yeah.
Which that's not in our wheelhouse, right, for our zoning code.
No, that would go under the administrative.
Yeah. I
So
think,
then
that-
if they don't stay 2 days.
what were you
they're gonna get
thinking of?
taxed.
What were you thinking of other stuff we should consider? I mean, did you have anything?
I just wanted to take a look at
See.
other places where they're doing this, just to make sure we have a comparative analysis.
No, I can
I'm
say
sure
this-
Upper Arlington did their, Upper Arlington did their homework on this, but I just want a chance to look at it.
They're so smart over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it as it is, but if you want to hold for.
Just so you guys know, what I'll probably do is send 2 ordinances, one amending 1121 and one prohibiting and conditionally allowing.
You can make the motion, Ben.
We're just to move forward with this to come back to planning and zoning. Is that what we're asking you to do?
I think you probably pass it either way.
I think send it on.
Send it on?
Send it on as written. You don't want to see it come back again for a second reading?
Nope.
Okay. Just nope. All right. Well, I think we have it then. Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
I'll second
to
it.
Move forward with this as written in ordinance form to council.
All right. Roll call.
I need a second.
I did.
Okay.
Brian Green.
I thought you
Chairman
should.
Green.
really
Nope.
mention it as
Let
a-
nope over here second. That was a quick nope.
John Merriman,
Yes.
Jesse Koppel,
Yes.
You don't want to vote no that time?
Ben Lee,
Dicey?
Yes.
Ron Dane,
Yes.
Ryan Green.
I want to save our whole meeting next time for the good stuff.
Those are the only 2 items I had. I appreciate the consideration.
Want to sweat over
Does that
there for
affect
15
councils?
minutes?
Council pass their version of that, or is that?
No, we're starting the ball.
He made the decision. I was trying to
I'll
find.
bring up-
Wait, you did pass it.
What's that?
You did pass your version of this.
We passed the version. to
Conditional
allow the
use.
Conditionality, yes. You're
Yeah, the non-conditional use.
So this just makes a few more tweaks onto that to separate them, clarify the separation.
correct.
Which makes total logic sense.
This is just the continuation of
Upper
the larger
Arlington
package.
for making our day easier.
All right.
All right. Any other business coming in? Good, bad, emotional outbursts?
Well, we already talked about it. I mean, I don't know, the guy with the Dunkin' Donuts shop.
Yeah.
He's been calling me for a year. I
Yeah.
mean, but now he's kind of nailing it down and he wants one here for sure.
Okay.
So that one, and I heard that there was a guy looking at one of the 3 empty. Well, according to the person that rents the storefronts for White Cross Lodge, he has 5 people that want 3 spaces there that are available.
Who manages that for him?
The White Cross Lodge.
Oh, they do. They
Yeah.
rent them.
The guy's in his 80s and they only have 18 members left and they're all in their 80s.
It's awesome.
So is that isn't some sisters organization, they own it, or is that the same as the White Cross Lodge, or is that something
It's
different?
part of the KP.
Yeah, I don't know. We looked it up,
It's a
but
very old organization. They're kind of an offshoot of the Masonic Lodge.
Okay.
Isn't it the name on the building itself?
It is.
I
It's,
believe so, yes.
yeah.
And I got Licking County Building Codes involved with the property. And they did have, I don't know how he did it because I couldn't get it done, but they had a person that inspects properties for Newark come over and looked at the building, and he said it was safe, except the carbon monoxide level was red tagged. So, but the rest of the building, yeah,
Not
it's
good.
got a rolling.
It's kind of a big deal though. It's safe except for you can't breathe the air.
Yeah, don't go in there.
Only if you're renting rooms.
Been in that place.
Is that
So we don't have to worry about them renting hotel rooms now.
Andrea's heartbroken that clothing
Okay.
store
We have a
left.
busy
Oh,
agenda.
that's.
Yeah, because we'll
Yeah,
have
that
Concord
place.
East and we'll have Concord East and what else do we have on
the
there?
COA,
The what?
we have a COA.
For anything good?
Can you say or no?
It's just a privately owned building. It's not.
It's a 10,000 square foot building to, it'll be behind the Coglin building, behind Wendy's. And it'll be 50 by 200. It's going to match the Coglin building.
It's still,
It's an all 100% steel building.
it's still on the Coglin property, or no, is it different?
No, it's on the property Terry Henson.
That's
Okay,
that's the
okay.
show car garage.
It's going to have cars in it. It's going to have 6 overhead doors and 6
Yeah.
man doors. And basically, it's the shell right now. He's not 100% sure what he's going to do with it at this point in time.
Anything behind CVS?
No, I don't,
Still
what's
for
going
sale.
on there?
We currently,
for
so
sale.
our
Been for sale
design
for a long
review
time,
board-
too.
It's back there by
design
Fort
review,
Lee's.
Has that's been passed by
It is.
council? So that if he wants to build a new structure out there, he's got to pass the design review standards? No, because it's not up and running yet.
It hasn't been staffed yet.
Yeah,
So he can
we're,
still
Now,
do-
this will be up to us, will be a COA.
they're being appointed this coming Tuesday, and then I have to train them, so COAs will start going to them after I get their training done.
Okay,
Rigorous boot camp.
so right
Just gonna
now you guys
Kim
have to
come in
handle
for their
that?
first
or-
meeting
Yeah,
and-
we'll handle that.
Have the
The,
first year then?
I'm just trying to
we
see.
did one for
I'm not
Lash.
totally sure.
Lash has a
Depends
5.
on when I can get Kim in and when I can get them in.
Yeah.
But what I might also have them do
know,
is send a
crazy.
COA. What I might also do is do a training and then send a COA to you guys so they could like come to your meeting and see how you do COAs
Mhm.
and then start sending the COAs after that.
Don't train them.
Probably a
with us.
bad
Yeah.
example. Don't use us.
Send them
sweaty
Send them
down
to
there.
somewhere better.
I'll have Kim train them.
Ask me how we're gonna talk.
We're still phoning a friend.
Show me your cards.
All right. On that note, Chief, do you have anything? Okay. All right.
Your entertainment.
Ben made a motion. I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you for coming. We like having,
Well,
we like
had
having
other-
a face in the
we had other
crowd.
people.